Oh, I got 2 followers on Kick. Fantastic. Should I be live? Hold on. What's going on? Oh.
Should we add everyone? Or should you?
I'm going
No.
to, as soon as I confirm that everything's okay
Alright,
on the
bet.
stream, I'm going to add everyone and
Good.
let them know that I'm streaming. Alright, it says 2 out of 2 here. Why is it not letting me? Says that I'm live. Okay, cool. Why? Alright, I can't hear my sound. Why is that? Oh, because Bluetooth is on. Duh.
I could go to your Kick stream and double check everything is good.
I'm on it on my phone.
Alright.
Alright, test. Are you the other person? Alright, say something so I know that you're good. Alright, say something so I know that you're good.
Sorry, I was talking to my mom.
Alright, cool. Everything seems fine. It's fine. Everything seems fine. Fantastic. Love it. Love it. Alright. Stream announcements at everyone. Ending now. Cool. Welcome. You were waiting in my chat room for a while. What do you do on your computer when you're like just chilling?
Playing games really. That's it.
What are you playing?
Right now I'm playing Mario Maker
Oh, okay.
because I haven't played it in like a year, and so I'm just checking out what's been going on since I've been gone.
That's like the ultimate Mario game.
Yeah, actually, I love it. It's probably my favorite. I have like 500 hours clocked in.
It's like unlimited Mario levels.
Yeah,
It would be
it's fun.
it would be really cool if you could like make whole Mario worlds for people to play. You know, with the map and everything.
Yeah, for sure.
But they didn't go that far. You ever play Pokemon?
Not really. I haven't been that big of a Pokemon fan, really.
Yeah, it's for the old people anyways. Okay. Alright. So what were y'all talking about in my chat? I didn't read everything. Y'all said so much.
So last night, or yesterday, I guess this morning, we were talking a lot about Tim Pool and his podcast with Emma Vigeland and Actual Justice Warrior.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened is they're on stream. Emma Vigeland, she's on the left. Tim Pool, I'm pretty sure he's like a classic liberal, I think.
Okay.
Actual Justice Warrior, definitely more conservative. And so they have them on the Tim Pool podcast, and Emma Vigeland says, why do you think your show appeals to neo-Nazis? Because the Texas mall shooter
Mm-hmm.
posted 4 screenshots of Tim Pool's podcasts on one of his social media accounts.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, that was a lot of that was a bit of controversy, and so a lot of people are defending Emma, saying like she has a point, and a lot of people are saying like it's a really crap point and it doesn't make any sense.
Uh-huh.
So we were just talking about that.
Okay. And what was being said?
We were discussing whether or not like, so one of the main points is like he only posted 4 screenshots. He wasn't even like subscribed to the podcast, and
Uh-huh.
he wasn't even really talking about Tim Pool. He was talking about someone else who happened to be on the podcast. And so that's mostly what we were talking about, is discussing whether or not that shows like oh, that he enjoyed Tim Pool's podcast and whatever, and then we didn't really get into what I wanted to talk about, which is even if a awful neo-Nazi like that does watch a podcast, does that necessarily mean the podcast tries to appeal to neo-Nazis? That's what I wanted to talk about, but we didn't really get into that.
I guess it doesn't necessarily mean they try, and I think that one neo-Nazi watching a show is not sufficient evidence, because like that neo-Nazi could be watching your show just to kind of see what the other side is thinking. So now is this left-wing person that's pro-Israel or whatever, because one neo-Nazi's got screenshots of their show, does that mean? So yeah, that's really weak evidence, I think. And I think that what Emma was probably doing was going off of this feeling that she had, that neo-Nazis watch people like Tim Pool or whatever, and whether that's true or not, is she still didn't bring sufficient evidence to prove that, I think.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that.
I don't even know what kind of messaging would Tim Pool have that a neo-Nazi would appreciate.
Something that strictly applies to neo-Nazis? I don't think he said anything that like strictly only neo-Nazis enjoy. Because you can say things that neo-Nazis agree with. That doesn't mean necessarily that, you know, you're becoming a magnet for them. Like if I say, for example, like, I like dogs, a neo-Nazi could agree with that. They could say, hey, I love dogs too. That doesn't, you know, mean I'm appealing to neo-Nazis or something. Like, you could make a totally fair point and an awful person could agree with that. And that's something that I see a lot, where there'll be people, of course there are some exceptions, but there'll be people out there, like, for example, let's say the shooter in what was it? I forget the town name already. You remember the trans person who went into the Christian school?
Yeah, because it was all over Twitter.
Yeah, Nashville, and a lot of people on my side were saying like, oh, this is what, you know, being, you know, like being transgender does to a person, and
yeah,
I think like exceptions like that. I think that people will take very like extreme cases and apply them to the other political side a lot, which is what I'm like. I definitely disagree with, but it happens so much.
it does. The right is full of neo-Nazis and the left is full of a bunch of transgender pedophiles.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how it kind of goes down. Yeah, no, you're right. And the things that they use to justify their belief is, again, usually insufficient.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen Libs of TikTok on Twitter? I said Tinder. Gosh.
Not really. No, I don't really go on Twitter at all.
What do people in your school use for social media?
In my school?
Yeah.
They use like Snapchat and Instagram.
Okay. Yeah, I don't do Instagram. I got a Snapchat, but that's there's like a few people that I talk to on Snapchat, and it's like the only place I talk to them, and that's why I have it. Anyways, yeah. So there's this account called Libs of TikTok that what the account basically does is she looks for mostly LGBT people doing really cringe or creepy things. Or like some kind of story that's adjacent to LGBT people doing really cringe and creepy things. And she uses those stories to try and kind of weave a narrative that LGBT people are groomers, that the left is groomers, and that they're pedophiles, are trying to have sex with your children, this, that, and the other thing.
Here's actually something I find interesting. What do you think the right means when they call the LGBT?
What do I think that people mean? If you really get into the nitty gritty and talk to them about it, I feel like you would probably get most people to a place where they would say something to the lines of we are trying to normalize being LGBT where to a point where children are think that they have to be LGBT in order to be like cool or whatever.
Okay. So you
Um,
think like I'm sorry.
However, using that word is incredibly problematic because we have like words that already means that. You know, indoctrination would be a good one. And the word groomer is just such a negative connotation that when they say it, it does still, despite what they mean by it, give a wink, wink, nudge, nudge to the idea that they're trying to sexually groom children in order to have sex with them.
Yeah, I would somewhat agree with that. Is groomer it does mean at one on one hand like indoctrinating kids, but on the other hand it like this is what people use it most for, right? Is you're trying to sexually abuse a kid. And that's why
Yeah.
I was very confused when I first heard it, because that's the only definition that I know of it, if you know what I mean. Like that was the only context I've ever heard it in. So I thought it was super inappropriate. Now I think it's like, it does technically make sense for what you're trying to say, but like you said, it does give that wink wink vibe of, hey, like nudging them. These people might be sexually abusing your children and stuff like that.
Yeah, and when you see the same person post a post that demonstrates like an actual problematic behavior that an person may be demonstrating, like for example, a inappropriate drag show in front of kids, and they use the exact same terminology. They call these people groomers. Then like you're really really conflating the actual problematic behavior with with everything else that you're calling groomers, but you may not actually mean it in the sexual way if you actually get down to the nitty gritty. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think not only is it a wink wink nudge nudge, it's like a huge wink wink nudge nudge because the same people are actively conflating the word to using the same word to mean two different things.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
But yeah, she's able to find, a lot of her examples, a lot of things she posts, when you actually look up the story or whatever, it turns out to be like a completely like non-problematic thing. One of them was like, there was this really risque drag show that people had brought their babies to. It was like mothers and their babies. And when I saw the posts, like the way she made it sound was that these people were performing for these babies to try and make the babies gay or sexual in some way. But what it actually was it was a mothers group a group of mothers who got together and they started a social group, and this social group hired these people to perform for them because they wanted adult entertainment, and they had their babies because they're mothers. And it's like babies don't remember these things. In their mind, it's like babies don't remember these things. They're not going to like hold on to this. And none of the dancers were touching the babies or anything. The babies were just there because they had to be there because these people were mothers. But she made it out like these people were performing for the babies.
I mean, I wouldn't really say that bringing babies or having babies in like an adult performance isn't exactly a big deal. I would definitely consider that a big deal. I think she could be wrong about like I'll just take your word for it. She's wrong for saying like they're trying to make the babies gay, whatever. That's BS. But I don't think that takes away the fact that there's, adults entertainment in front of children. I don't think that's a little deal. I think that's a huge deal. I think that.
Okay, so you just said children.
Yeah.
These weren't children. These were babies. Those are different things, different capabilities, right?
Yeah, under 18 is what I mean.
Okay, well, even then, like I would say that taking a 13-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 4-year-old, a three, maybe even a 3-year-old or a 2-year-old, to one of these things would probably be a big deal. Um, but we're talking about like
Would or would not?
it probably would. I mean, I don't know when people start forming memories. 2 years
Mm.
old, you probably don't, but 3, you probably do. So somewhere around there would probably be inappropriate. Um, I don't think there's anything wrong with a group of mothers wanting some adult. Okay, would you say that watching a sexually explicit movie, a movie with sex scenes with a baby in the room, would that be a bad thing?
If the baby is watching it, yeah.
If the baby's like
Or
awake,
what? No, it depends. It depends.
it depends on what.
It depends on, how explicit it is. Like if it's just like it's not showing anything, it's them in blankets. There's like a difference between parents showing their children these types of things in a private environment, right?
Hmm.
Um, and like introducing them to it instead of like just bringing them to an adult performance where someone is performing like explicitly to be sexual.
So real quick, this wasn't them bringing them to like a bar or anything.
Yeah, well, like what's it called? They hired them for the night, I'm assuming, at some place.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So this wasn't them bringing them to an inappropriate place. They were like, there was entertainment that would be. Why is she still alive? Oh, there was entertainment that would be inappropriate for children there, but I would akin it to um, them watching like a movie with inappropriate stuff in it, with the baby in the room. Like that's kind of what it was like.
I mean, on my previous comment, what I mean by, like, again, like I said, it depends. I guess I would recognize things as, like, I think if you're showing a baby, like, anything sexual, it shouldn't be something that is specifically designed to arouse a person and you're showing it to the baby, like, on purpose. Like, if you're having a guy with, who's trying to be sexual and you're putting him in front of kids, I think that's not okay. If you have a movie on where people are, doing the thing, I'd consider that also not okay. I don't really care if it's a movie or in real life. I think it's inappropriate at any time to show a baby something like that. And the only time I would find it reasonable is I'm kind of like redoing my kind of previous statements. The only time I'd find it okay is if you're showing your kids like how this type of thing works. Like if you're showing them, yeah, sex is a real thing, and then like you could put on a movie where people are doing something, you could kind of introduce them to that.
Yeah, but
I
you would
wouldn't-
never do that with a baby because it would do no good.
I'd do that with like 13-year-olds maybe. I
Yeah.
don't think I would do it with a baby or like 8-year-old.
So we're talking about babies, these things that can't even walk yet. And so just to be clear, these people weren't like having sex with each other while the babies were in the room.
Yeah.
These were like dance performances, and scantily clothed, and probably suggestive dance performances, I would imagine.
The strippers, pretty much.
They were never nude, as far as I know, but they were very,
but
very
they're,
close
like,
to it.
non-nude strippers.
Yeah.
Those are things.
Yeah, they were very, very close to it. And again, the babies, they're not picking up anything from that.
And I would say that's kind of a shoddy argument because then you can justify a lot of things about babies because, they can't remember it or it's not going to impact them in the future. You could justify a lot of awful things using that idea.
Like what?
Pedophilia.
So, you ever watch Not So Erudite?
No.
she is a streamer that she had something happen to her when she was so young that she didn't even remember it. But she always felt like that there was something off, and it turned out that she was sexually abused when she was really really young, and she didn't remember it. But because of the the there is something that sticks with you when you get sexually abused, even before you start forming memories. That she ended up actually having problems thanks to that. So I don't think you could justify pedophilia with
How'd
that.
she find out?
I don't remember.
Oh, okay. But she eventually did.
Yeah.
Oh, dang. That sucks. Jeez. I mean, yeah, there is something that always sticks to you if you're being like sexually exploited. But there are definitely circumstances where children don't remember it. I mean, there's definitely times where I remember memories from, when I was less than a year old. There are times when I don't remember anything from when I was less than a year old. I think that basing it on you forget 99% of your memories when you grow up is a crappy kind of argument. I mean, I think it's based more on like, or here's another question: is like, when is the cutoff point for that? Like when is it that children start to be forming memories, and could you still show them things because they'll probably forget? Like, there's not a high chance that they'll remember. I think it's more.
Well, do you think that calling a baby ugly but doing it in like a cute voice, do you think that's would be like a bad thing to do? Have you ever done that?
Calling them ugly in
Yeah.
a cute voice?
So oh goodness, I forget. All right, so there's a thing that you can do with a baby where you can say really really nasty things to them, but as long as you're doing it in like a really playful, really cute voice, they will smile at you. Right?
I would consider that not okay.
You would
I
consider
think
that okay? All right. Well, then I guess I'll just never move you on this. But yeah, the line would be touching. The line would be touching the baby. Because like I said, that kind of thing does leave like residual effects on a person when
I
you
mean,
actually do get touched or yeah.
the hard thing about the whole conversation of like drag queens and kids is where's the cutoff point? And I guess there is a definite cutoff point for some people, but it's kind of hard for me. Like, I'm okay with bringing your kids to a show where a guy in a dress is dancing. That's not really my issue. I wouldn't bring my kids to it, but you could bring yours. Like, okay, go ahead. But I don't know. It's just hard to kind of draw a line to where it's not okay.
Well, the difference is going to be whether or not the show is sexually suggestive, right? Because you can
Yeah,
have a
yeah.
drag performance that's not sexually suggestive at all, and that would be okay for kids of all ages, for the most part. But if it's sexually suggestive, then I would say that it's probably not okay for kids of most ages.
Yeah, but our society, like overall, we're getting more what is it? Sexually accepting, like more accepting of different.
Liberated. We're being
Yeah,
liberated.
I don't know what the word is.
Viva la sexuality. Yeah.
But there's like for example, let me give two situations. There's a guy in a bikini and he's dancing around, but he's not like, but the people around him aren't making it sexual. And then there's a guy in a bikini where the people around him are making it sexual. Like, they're calling him hot, they're saying all these things. Is there like a difference between those two situations? Because I consider there to be a difference, but at the same time, there isn't like a definite cutoff line for those situations.
So I have a really, really unpopular opinion when it comes to like what makes something inherently sexual. It's something that I've been trying to discuss with people who are able to have like logical discussions. But for me, it's if the person there are certain things you can do that's just inherently sexual. Obviously, sex is inherently sexual. Sex acts such as like oral and stuff like that is going to be inherently sexual. But there are also things that you can do that. Goodness, hold on a second. Sorry, I'm thinking about what my next move in Pokemon. Okay. So yeah, sex. I think that like simulated sex. So if you have like pumping as a part of your dance, that's probably inherently sexual. And anything that's like putting focus on the sex organ is probably inherently sexual. Um,
Hmm.
However, I think that you can do something like twerking and have it not be necessarily sexual. Um,
How would it not be sexual?
um, for me, it's going to
This is a
heavily.
weird conversation to jump in on.
Yeah.
But
Um,
I just wanted to add, my wife was teaching my 2-year-old how to twerk the other day. Wasn't really sexual at all, but
It could be fun, right? But I don't think kids should be twerking. I think that's a sexual thing. You and your kids, like as parents, like me and my parents, we joke about sexual things all the time. That doesn't make them pedophiles, but it is a sexual conversation, you know?
yeah, I get uncomfortable when, like, my parents are talking about sex around me, especially if it's involving someone else in the family. I don't want to hear anything about it. But,
Yeah.
like, when it comes to a dance move, you're just shaking. That's all you're doing. It depends on, I don't know what twerking actually is. She was teaching the kid how to, like, put her hands on the couch and shake her butt.
Well, I mean, she's 2 years old. I don't think your wife is doing anything bad. But I mean, my younger sister, right? When she was, I don't know how old, 8 or 9, I think. She was in dance, and the children's dance scene is a very controversial one, and it's a very weird one. But one of the weirdest things ever is I remember being, how old was I? I was like 11, and we went to one of her concerts, and one of the dances was like, it had the same tone, kind of WAP, but very much toned down, so kids could listen to it. It wasn't like as much swearing, but it was definitely like sexually explicit, and I was super uncomfortable because these young girls had like these bras on. That was it. It was just like your bra and then the panties, and they're like super sparkly. And then they all faced the stage and like started twerking, like actual twerking, and that was something like I don't think I could ever get out of the mind. I think that is sexually exploiting children. I think that is so awful. I think it's kind of like a yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
So the thing that really made me think about this issue the way that I do is what is actually my niece used to go to a dance class, and she would put on dance performances, and it was a similar experience, except they weren't as scantily dressed. But some of the dance moves that these young people were doing made me uncomfortable. And after a little bit, I thought, like, why does this make me uncomfortable? Um, and then she started a new dance group, and there was this girl who did this dance move at one of the competitions where she would like slap her butt and scoot across the ground while slapping her ass, and that made me uncomfortable. And I was like, well, why does this make me uncomfortable? And then I thought about it, like that little girl doing that dance move, for her there is not a single thing that's sexual about it. It's just a dance move to her. To the people teaching her that dance move, I'm going to hope that there was nothing sexual about it. It was just a dance move to them. I was the one that was making it sexual, and I thought that made that idea felt weird to me. Like the fact that everyone else can see this, it's not a sex act. She's not actually like doing anything sexual. We don't see any of her like sexual organs, and she's not putting. She's not. I mean, the butt. Yeah, some people sexualize it, but people used to sexualize ankles and legs. People sexualize legs to this day. People sexualize feet. Does that mean that if we're going to pay bring attention to that, is that just necessarily going to be sexual? So like I ended up coming to the conclusion that it was me that had the issue, and not necessarily her dance moves that was the issue. Does that make sense?
I would somewhat. I actually no, I don't really agree at all.
Okay. Like I said, I have a very unpopular opinion about that.
Yeah, definitely unpopular. Definitely different too. I haven't really heard that. So what about the movie Cuties? Do you think that's like an okay thing that Netflix should show?
Have you seen Cuties?
No, I have not.
So my understanding of that movie is that it was actually a movie against the sexual exploitation of children, but Netflix, what is the word I'm looking for? Netflix marketed it in a very piss poor way. So I've never seen the movie, but I think that if it is true that the movie is mostly about, you know, the dangers of sexually exploiting children, then it's probably a positive movie. But Netflix's marketing was for sure sexualizing those children, and I think that was their intent with that marketing.
I've heard it from. Do you know about like Charlie and Sneeko, their kind of thing?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I heard Charlie talk about it. I heard other people on the internet talk about it, and what they described was little girls doing sexual acts, you know, on camera, and that could be against like the idea of sexual exploitation, right? It could be against it. That's fine, but you're still making actual children do sexual acts for entertainment. That's the thing, is the message might be different. That doesn't make the crime any better.
Yeah, so to the extent that any like child actors were put in a situation where they had to like do sexual acts, I'm sure it was probably simulated, but even that's weird. I would agree that they probably should have like they didn't have to show that in order to put their point across, if that's what they did.
Was this I don't know. My understanding, I thought that movie was documentary, but I honestly don't know much about it.
I'm
It's not. It was so I read a lot about it when it was like first a thing that people were talking about. It was actually, I think it was like an independent film that was created by a French director, and she created it specifically to warn against the dangers that girls go through every day when it comes to people sexualizing them. And yeah, so one of my friends brought up, which you just brought up, for during that time, where there was like actual little girls, you know, simulating sex acts, and I do agree that aspect of the movie is probably problematic.
Okay, I just looked up Cutie's worst scenes, and this is pretty gross.
Okay, well, I'm not gonna look it up.
Yeah. Okay, do you want me to describe it?
No, it's okay.
Okay,
I'll just take your word for it that it's a problem. And yeah, they probably could have got the message across without whatever that scene is that you are looking at. And they probably should have. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I agree with the message, right? Of you know, don't sexually exploit girls, but if you're sexually exploiting
Such a
girls
brave
to get
take.
the message out, it's
Such a
kind
brave
of-
take.
But if you're sexually exploiting girls to get the message out, it's a bit counterintuitive, right?
Yeah, I agree 100%. They shouldn't have did that.
Have you heard? Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. You two talk. My niece is calling me.
Okay.
All right.
Have you heard about the recent movie that came out? What was it? Freedom something? Road to
Oh yeah,
Freedom?
yeah, yeah. I know little about it. I know that there's like it's QAnon adjacent. I think there's like some folks that are involved with QAnon that put the movie on. It was filmed back, I want to say a while ago, like 2017, but never got released.
Yeah.
And then finally it got released, and then a comedian put out a tweet about like some nanobots, and that kind of got picked up. And I don't know if people took that seriously or not, but it was supposed to be like a joke that like AMC was poisoning people at the movie theater to not see that movie, but it was just a comedian. And I'm kind of pissed because I have AMC stock and I don't want that shit to drop.
You might want to sell it. I don't think it's looking too good for AMC. A lot of people are against him right now.
Yeah, I know. Freaking, it's like a double psyop, right? Like, I think like I don't believe all the crap that is being said about the movie theater. Like, I saw some people talking about how they kept the lights on and they kept the movie theater warm as they were trying to watch the movie because they don't want people to go see this movie. And I feel like this is like I don't know if those people are real or not, but I feel like that's like the playbook is like how to get attention for this movie is like the left doesn't want you to see this movie. AMC doesn't want you to see it. And so then more right-wingers will go out and they'll go watch the movie because that's, similar to Donald Trump with his indictments. It's like, we're going to back the guy who's like being sought after or like the left coming after. But it's like AMC, if they didn't want you to see the movie, they just don't have to house the movie at their theaters. That's how they get you to not see the movie. I don't know why they would have have viewings of the movie and then just make it uncomfortable. That's a waste of space and money for them,
I mean, I would actually disagree. So the thing of like people saying that they're turning on the lights, right? People are actually like posting videos of the AMC actually keeping the lights on. That's a thing, at least in some theaters. And then there are like
while the movie's going though? Is it while the movie's going?
Yeah, it's while the movie is going. Yeah.
Oh, that's illegal. I'm pretty sure you're not allowed. That's like you're not allowed to film movies when they're in theaters like that.
And then there was something pretty crazy where if you go to r/movie theater employees, so it's Reddit, so it's not going to be that great, but there are like so many posts that are saying like I hate Sound of Freedom and saying like the people who go to Sound of Freedom are crazy people. Like, I'm the employees of movie theaters are saying they're trying to stop people from watching it. So I don't know. I don't know if that's necessarily true that people aren't trying to stop people from watching it. And I don't think it's because it's like, oh, this like shows a leftist agenda. I think it's because people are angry that the director of the movie, I think this is what people are saying, but that apparently the director of the movie is like affiliated with QAnon.
Yeah, that's what I've heard as well. But I don't know. Anyone could go on the internet and say anything. So I don't know how valid those Reddit posts are. They could, like I said, just be a psyop of the AMC big wigs that are trying to short AMC and don't want it to pop like I want it to, trying to sink the damn theater. But it depends on how like politically conscious your average AMC employee, movie theater employee is. Like usually those people are 22 years old. Maybe your oldest person's 25, who's like the assistant manager there, that would be doing these things. And I don't know how like if you're in a community that has people that are interested in seeing this movie, are you of that same like political ilk as that community? Or is it like there's only little liberal 22-year-olds that are working the theater, and then there's like, I guess the older crowd are conservative and they're going in. You're gonna have a diverse community to begin with for this to happen. And then I don't know, it just seems like a weird situation. I'd have to see those films that you're talking about of people inside the theater to know really what's going on.
All right, give me the rundown. What are y'all talking about?
The Sound of Freedom.
Oof. Okay.
The recent movie.
Have you seen the movie?
I'm also here now.
Yeah, Steve is also here now.
Nice. I haven't seen the movie. I have a feeling that it was
on my phone though. I don't know if that's
okay.
quality.
Oh shit! Yeah, I'm on my phone doing dishes. Let me mute myself while I'm doing.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't hear. There's no quality difference, really. So yeah, I think that movie was probably like a movie that was just made to be a movie, and people made it really political.
Yeah.
That would be my guess.
Isn't it about child trafficking or something? I didn't see
Yeah,
it.
the movie is inherently political. Like, it's about politics.
Yeah, but like, who is against somebody like saving people from child trafficking? Right?
I don't know. Has anyone seen the movie?
Yeah, what point does it make about child trafficking? Has anyone here actually seen the movie?
No, I think it's just about a guy who like loses his daughter to sex trafficking, and he goes to save her and a bunch of other.
No.
kids.
So I read a synopsis of the movie.
Okay.
It's basically about a guy that worked for a team for the government that was like an anti-child trafficking, team. He went into this other country and saved this little boy from a child trafficker, but the little boy's sister was still in the in the trafficking ring. So he quit his job in order to
Go
go
save.
and save the girl. And people were saying that that's like a QAnon movie, and I'm not really like, I understand that QAnon has like trafficking conspiracies, but from what I understand, this movie is based on a true story. The events probably aren't 100% true, but like I unless I see the movie or somebody explains to me in a way that I can understand why it's child traffic or a QAnon story, I think it's honestly just a bunch of liberals getting mad that conservatives are enjoying some type of media.
Yeah.
So it's a left-wing moral panic.
Yes, exactly. That's what it sounds like to me.
Right.
And yeah,
Ooh.
apparently it's like QAnon because QAnon members overinflate the numbers of child trafficking. But I don't really think I think a movie that's trying to make a point that child trafficking is bad, I don't really think that's too much of a problem.
Well,
I don't really care.
I did read that it gives like
I kind of want to.
Go ahead.
I kind of want to get a hold of someone who's like a liberal and is like against this movie or against conservatives enjoying this movie and see what they have to say about it. Because it doesn't make any sense at all to me.
Let's
without
get a
having seen
far
the
left
movie.
person in this Discord server. That'd be fun.
No, it's too
I
embarrassing
feel like
for me.
Clutch and Experiment are already skirting on the far left, but
I'm pretty
Yeah,
left,
yeah.
I have to admit.
How left?
I don't know. Give me a litmus test.
Let's see. Steve, what would you consider the far left? Do you think communism is better
I
than
think
capitalism?
he's somewhere between like Lenin and Mao. I think that's basically where he's at. That sums it up.
Just there, yeah. I'm a Maoist Leninist and an American patriot.
Right.
I'm a
But
MAGA
only
communist.
If America was communist. Oh, based actually. Never mind.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. Far left people, like people who are left of me, they're just so embarrassing.
I think the far something of any political side is pretty embarrassing.
That's true. That is true.
Because then it makes your side look bad.
So what else is there to talk about? Didn't we have a major disagreement this week, Experiment? I forget exactly what it was about.
Yeah, I think I was talking about. Well, okay, it's really
I'm a
hard to get the
victim.
point across in messaging.
Yeah, don't worry.
The only
Right.
thing that I'm trying to parse out here is when.
Oh yeah, it was
when-
about
when
Tim
somebody
Pool and
says-
Emma Vigeland, right?
Yeah, when somebody says your show appeals to neo-Nazis, okay? And so we're going to bring up the analogy. Because a neo-Nazi went and took screen grabs of the show and put them up on his Twitter. So if say I have a 2-year-old, there's obviously shows that are geared for 2-year-olds. But maybe I'm watching an adult show, like an adult cartoon. I don't know. Do you guys have any adult cartoons that you watch? What's that?
South Park, that's pretty
Rick and
adult.
Morty. I don't know.
Yeah, Rick and Morty, those types of things.
Yeah. So Rick and Morty, I could see like a 2-year-old looking at it because a lot of crazy things happen in Rick and Morty. It's not geared for 2-year-olds, but maybe something with the show appeals to the 2-year-olds. You know, maybe just the design, the animation, the silly faces that people make, all the wacky characteristics that they do. I would say
Sure.
that certain aspects of that show appeal to a 2-year-old. And maybe it was just one episode that we know that the 2-year-old watched, but still, the show appeals to 2-year-olds, not at like a broader level, not as a whole. Like it's not geared just for 2-year-olds, but there's an appealing aspect to it. Was all I was trying to say. I feel like the reason I jumped into that conversation was because
Yeah, but
what was being said was misrepresented.
wait.
But you guys go ahead.
okay. Yeah, but does that mean that we should like ban Rick and Morty because a 2-year-old might stumble upon it for some reason?
No.
Like
No.
if no, then making that observation is completely irrelevant. Like you're wasting your breath saying that, because it's like, okay, well, if a 2-year-old accidentally watches Rick and Morty and gets traumatized by some of the crazy shit that happens, it's like, should we ban Rick and Morty? No. Okay, then why are you even bringing this up? It's like a responsibility to parents to. But anyway, really the problem with what Emma was doing is that the way the conversation works is she's going to throw that out there. Oh, your show appeals to neo-Nazis, with this like flimsy justification of, well, a neo-Nazi watched the show. The average person watching who isn't already like bought into the whole Tim Pool thing, like isn't a Tim Pool fan, they're just going to repeat that ad nauseum. And it's really, really hard for Tim to unravel that in a way that takes the clip away from her. Like any way that he does it would either be too complicated to like get in a soundbite to effectively defuse the bomb that she just planted, or would give her power, because if he just gets mad, which he did, then it's like, oh, Tim Pool's like a mad guy. He's just angry. He's lashing out, and she's like the rational one, who's calm. So that's the point of what she was trying to do, and he knew that. And the reason why she knew that is because of what you just said, or rather, my response to what you just said, which is there's literally no reason to bring that up, because a neo-Nazi can fucking watch anything. Like they can I'm sure a neo-Nazi has eaten pecan pie before. That doesn't mean if I eat pecan pie, I'm suddenly like a neo-Nazi, right? I mean, it's
But
literally
hold on.
completely inconsequential.
Pecan pie is completely unrelated to Tim Pool's show.
Okay, fine.
It's not like a neo-Nazi was watching a comedy show and then reposted it. Tim Pool's show is political in nature. The neo-Nazi is political, like at his extreme ideology.
Okay, fine. I mean,
so like the things that are appealing to him are the political aspects of Tim Pool's show. So there's a closer relationship than pecan pie, I think is
okay. But what is Tim Pool supposed to do about that?
I don't know. He can keep doing what he's doing and just say like, listen, I don't advocate for violence. I don't advocate for whatever this guy did. But I think she was getting onto him about it because he called it a hoax. That shooting was a hoax or a psyop or it was fake or whatever. Someone else in the Discord has said that it was
right.
That never happened, right? And then later
I don't
on,
know. I don't know the exact shooting. Oh, I guess it was the shooting.
It was
that
in
the
Texas.
neo-Nazi
It was
guy.
it was in the mall.
Mall shooting.
The mall shooting. Yeah, and I live in
But,
Texas.
like,
So I was
really,
seeing stuff on my Facebook. Guys, dead bodies
in the
bleeding out.
Jeez.
In the general sense, the answer to what can Tim Pool do about that is pretty much nothing. Like, it's the same as, okay, if a 2-year-old accidentally watches Rick and Morty, what can Dan Harmon do about that? Nothing. Like, unless he was going to change the whole way that he organizes and runs the show, he was going to totally change like the animation or something. Like, nothing. So what's the point of bringing it up? The only point of her bringing it up is to be able to get the clip that Tim Pool is like a Nazi show and be able to propagate that, right? I mean, that's and that's why she's such a fucking bitch. Because
Oh
she
my
knew that.
goodness.
That's why she did it, right?
What?
So yeah, I mean, it's pretty infuriating.
Okay.
For me, it's like, is Tim Pool going to like I said, this isn't just some random relationship of pecan pie. This is, are his political messages safe, sane? And I think this goes into what Cluck wanted to talk about, which was stochastic terrorism. Is he being responsible with his platform? You know, if I had a platform and somebody was reposting me and reposting my ideas or my conversations, and then they went out and I found out they like committed some mass shooting, I would go on and I would say, you know, like, this is what they post. I would make everything clear. We didn't advocate for violence. Some of these things, like Tucker Carlson covers his ass in these things all the time, I feel. Whenever something else happens, like, of course our show doesn't say this, and of course our show doesn't do that. So like, you've got to kind of come out and let your audience know that you don't condone these things and come clean with it. And then maybe reassess, what is it that I said that appealed to this extremist shooter guy? What is it that was said? Should I keep saying it? Because in that conversation, the 44-minute clip, when I went back and watched it, they are talking about, you got to stand up for your rights, and you got to be willing to die for your rights. Tim Pool brings up the Second Amendment and why we need the Second Amendment, and he's talking about speech. Like he was clearly just talking about people speaking up. But you know, these messages can get confused in the minds of a crazy person, like this dude was.
Yeah, I guess that's true, but if you had to tailor all your content for like defusing what a crazy person would take out of it, then you literally could never say anything ever, because crazy people are crazy. That's the entire point of calling them crazy. Their responses don't make sense. You literally can't plan for what a crazy person is going to do or not do.
Yeah. No, I could see that, because there's definitely, you know, like, I've told you I watched Bosch. He says some crazy shit which could be construed as a call to action. You know, every other left-winger does it too.
Right.
What's that? Someone's cutting out.
I mean, you know, it's pretty obvious about Bausch, what you just said. It's definitely true, 100%.
Yeah. So he can motivate someone, and it's like, I just think these people they need to be responsible. They not held responsible and held liable, but they need to be responsible with what the hell they're saying, because they've got audiences of so many people that it takes one crazy ass person.
Tim Pool have been more responsible.
With that situation, I think just after it happened, he should have come out and said something. I think when she addressed it, or when she brought it up, like, why do you think your show appeals to neo-Nazis? Then genuinely just talk about, okay, well, my show does appeal to like right-wingers, but he doesn't. He lies. He says it's a centrist show. I don't think so at all.
Yeah, but by responding to it that way, he would have been sort of implicitly agreeing that it's a legitimate question to ask, when it's obviously not. It's obvious that she's being bad faith.
Well, you got an entire show that you do every day. You've got so much time to debunk it, rather than just throw smears and call people idiots, and then, you know, go on this attack campaign and never really defend yourself. To where, you know, like you were saying, the average person who just watches this show is just going to leave with it now, thinking what she said is true. I had to go spend 3 hours of my time to fucking dig that, and you guys helped me find the stuff. I had to go spend time to actually know what was going on. And I don't think he's guilty in what he said, especially not him. The girl said something a little more intense, and that kind of took it a little more extreme for some reason, when I think they were just talking about censorship, and I can't remember what the original conversation was about. But yeah, like, you take the time to unravel everything and clear your name.
I would just...
Sure. Okay. I'll let you respond.
Okay, I would just disagree with the basic premise that because one neo-Nazi watched the show, that means that you have to apologize for it. I mean, he could have watched so many different people, and just because that, like, he watches you once, right? Just one time, you have to apologize for it. That doesn't make any sense to me. And especially with neo-Nazis, I don't think his show does appeal to them, because to go that far, to get so extreme, you don't listen to honest conversations. You don't listen to people who have actual debates. I think this was a super individual case where this guy watches the show, and from what I understand, that episode was just primarily Tim Pool and the guests agreeing with each other. And
Yeah.
Tim Pool has so many, like, Tim Pool's podcast kind of centers around him bringing people on that he agrees with and disagrees with. And that's why I think neo-Nazis wouldn't enjoy his show. They don't like being disagreed with. That's why they're so far gone. That's how you get people who are on the far left, who are on the far right. They don't listen to honest conversation. They just listen to pure propaganda, and they don't listen to the other side at all.
I guess my biggest problem with this is the implication that Pool or anyone else has a responsibility or a duty to like crazy proof his show, because I don't really understand how you can prevent a crazy person or a neo-Nazi from clicking on one of your videos and just watching it. Like,
Yeah, it's the
who the hell
algorithm.
knows why he clicked on the video?
All right, so here's
I
a
mean,
question. Oh shit! I didn't-
How is Tim supposed to? I mean, how is he supposed to prevent any neo-Nazis from ever watching his show? It's impossible. It doesn't make any sense. And there's this
do you think-
implication that
okay,
that's
here-
what he should be doing. I mean, it
Do you
like,
think the
literally
Young
now.
Turks? Do you think TYT would appeal to neo-Nazis? Do you think that TYT would watch an entire or
Probably not,
neo-Nazi
but that's because they're a
would-
left-wing show. I could imagine like Fox News appealing to neo-Nazis just because like it's a right-wing
Right.
program that they turn on in the background or something.
So do you think
But, like,
Tim
that
Pool's
doesn't
show
mean that
appeals
Fox News
could
is a
appeal
neo-Nazi
to a
show.
neo-Nazi? Do you think it could appeal to a neo-Nazi though?
I think it could appeal to them because of personal interest, not because they are a neo-Nazi.
Yeah, I mean like I don't think saying that Fox News
a
could
political
appeal
show.
to a neo-Nazi means that Fox News is a Nazi show or that it's like
Yeah, it's not,
trying to appeal to Nazis or anything like that.
Yeah, no, there's some extreme websites out there with neo-Nazi shit on it. I know that these shows,
Right.
the main, anything that makes the mainstream and is this big is not going to be like hella neo-Nazi. I don't even know. I can't think of a YouTuber that is primarily neo-Nazi. I'm not that far into it,
I think
but
there are any,
they've
really.
got to be watching some stuff. And if it's if more and more audience, I think the concern is that if more and more of the audiences start becoming so polarized and extreme, how much of this is going to continue? How many more people are going to do this? How much of it's going to continue? How divided are you going to make the society?
Yeah, that's a good point, but I don't really think it applies to Tim Pool because I don't really think he's that extreme. I think the guy himself is a centrist. It's just that for some reason he's chosen to cultivate a right-wing audience by like downplaying his sort of center-left beliefs and upplaying his center-right beliefs and just kind of making videos that appeal to a center-right audience. I mean, I don't know why he's decided to do that, but he has. I don't really see Tim Pool as extreme in any way. I guess maybe I haven't watched enough of his content, but
Yeah, I don't know. I don't watch his content, obviously. I just see the clips of him and the things he
Right.
says in that conversation, and I just don't like he's not. I don't think he's an honest actor. I think when he talks to people, he obfuscates too much. Always changes the subject away from the meat of the conversation. So there's and then always just throws shade towards the left or towards the Democrats, and then always makes up for it with but the right wing does this better and all this other stuff. So it's like, yeah, of course you're going to appeal to right wingers because you're just coddling right wingers and telling them they're always right. And then but then you cover your ass by saying, I'm actually a centrist. I'm a centrist. Well, what are you centrist on, Tim? What exactly about him is centrist?
well, I mean, I agree with you in general. I'm not really a Tim Pool fan. I don't really like the way that he engages. I don't find the show that entertaining particularly. But On that podcast, which I did listen to, he says that he supports universal health care and that he supports like raising the minimum wage or free college or whatever. It's just that he has some left wing opinions, right? Or
I think
he
he
agrees
says
with
those.
left wingers on some things, but he downplays them for the purpose of cultivating a right wing audience. I don't know why he's chosen to do that. I guess because he had to pick a lane and stick with it, and that's how he grows an audience. I think he's chiefly concerned with growing an audience. He really doesn't care who that audience is. He just wants to get more views and clicks and stuff.
Yeah,
So
that's
really why.
I kind of find the grifting aspect of him to be most prominent. But I don't think like when he says he's for universal health care, it's he couches that with, you know, if there's some extreme situation, yeah, he has all these caveats to the universal health care. It's not just like if you're sick, you
Right,
go
but
to the
that's
doctor. It's
part of the
paid for.
downplaying because if someone right wing is listening and he says I support universal health care, then they're like lefty sensors, you know, their spidey senses for detecting socialism go off. So it's like he has to qualify it with, well, you know, but I don't think the economy's ready for it now, or you know, I would want to do more research into it before I committed. And then it sort of calms and soothes the right wing mind, soothes their ego a little bit. So that's all part of his grift. But no, I definitely agree that he's a grifter. I just think that what Emma did in that part of the conversation is like way more infuriating than just being a grifter. Like she's a fucking bitch for saying that. And I know why she said it, and it was bad faith. So yeah, I'm siding with Tim on that one.
I got a question.
I mean, yeah.
Go ahead.
What does it take for you to look at a situation like a mass shooting and for you to be like, yeah, that content creator probably had something to do with why he did that?
Are you asking me?
I'm asking everybody.
I mean, like if they fucking, I don't even know, because I would say if they said in their manifesto or they yelled like shout out to Vaush or something, I don't know. But even in that case, he could just be a fucking loon. And in which case there really is no responsibility on the part of the content creator, because you can't control the crazy things that some schizophrenic guy is going to do. I mean, that's literally like, once again, that's literally why we call them crazy, because the things they do don't make sense. Like they don't have causation calibrated properly in their mind. So there's literally nothing. Like dangerous, crazy people don't calm down because you say, oh, calm down, I'm not advocating for violence. They'll just ignore that and think whatever they want to think because they're insane. Once again, they don't use logic properly. So there's really nothing you can do. Even if they say, oh, this specific content creator inspired me to kill these people today. Like, even in that case, it kind of is a tenuous thing to be able to police that, right?
I think it's the messages on aggregate. If you have, you know, because like Tim Pool probably didn't motivate this guy, but say he was an avid Tim Pool fan, watched him regularly, and he constantly watched Tim Pool shit on the left, shit on whatever type of people, and you know, play defense for whatever neo-Nazi ideas that this guy had running in his own head. And then he goes over to Tucker Carlson, and Tucker Carlson's telling him the world's ending because of the left. And then he goes over to Ben Shapiro and he says something else, you know, that gets this guy worked up. This guy's just being fed messages constantly that are getting him worked up. And I don't know. I think all of it works in tandem, unless it's like that Jimmy Dore situation seems pretty damning.
That's probably the most damning you can get. Like again, but okay, fine. I mean, if someone is literally saying, okay, we need to commit violence against these people, and they're putting out those sorts of messages, then okay, maybe you can say, hey, this inspired this because they were literally telling people to go out and shoot people. And I can see the argument of like, okay, someone might have had a parasocial relationship with this content creator, and they also turn out to be insane. So when that content creator, who like they perceived as their friend because of this weird internet social like parasocial relationship, tells them to go out and commit violence, and they actually do it. Like, yeah, you could maybe say, okay, fair enough, like that content creator bears some responsibility, but I wouldn't be in favor of like arresting the content creator or banning them or something just because of that. because
got one
they
too.
didn't have what?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Finish your point.
Right, because they weren't like collaborating with the crime, obviously. But when that's not the case, when it's just Fox News or Ben Shapiro or Tim Pool, none of these people, by the way, even Tucker Carlson, none of these people say, look, this is the way you have to do it. You got to go out there with a gun. You got to arm yourself. In fact, the person that I can think of off the top of my head that came closest to that, or actually did it, was Vaush. He said, like, look, conservatives are going to genocide the trans people and genocide the black people. And you need to go out and buy guns and be ready because, there might come a time really soon. I think he said by the time the 2024 election comes around and Trump is elected again, we're going to have violence in this country. So you better have a weapon and be ready. Fucking Vaush said that, right? So
Yeah.
is he responsible when someone goes out and kills Donald Trump or kills a bunch of Republicans or whatever? I mean, maybe, but
He's okay because I think I was watching when he said that. He did say that you're using these things defensively, or use them defensively. Like we
Okay.
want to be armed enough so that we don't get overrun and all like that.
Right.
But
he still got
Al-
closer than Shapiro or Carlson has ever gotten to that kind of thing.
yeah, I'll say
right.
like Alex Jones, like
Yeah.
he motivated enough people to go and harass, the Sandy Hook parents and all that. And it wasn't just like one person; it was like multiple people harassing these parents, and like they were
Yeah.
only motivated to do that because of Alex Jones. And then he was, found, guilty. $6 billion. However much money he had to pay out for that.
Literally like $1 trillion.
Yeah,
it was
like,
so
Dang,
much.
yeah. It doesn't.
So, like-
That's probably more red pilling. Like, if you told me that there's some kind of international cabal that's trying to push progressivism and there's some kind of conspiracy, like that's the best evidence that you have for it. Oh, pay $1 trillion, please. Fucking what? That's fucking crazy. But anyway, no, I'm definitely not an Alex Jones fan, and I won't defend the guy. I guess I am kind of a fan because he's very entertaining, but he's literally insane. So, anyway, no, but yeah, that's another good example of these people are crisis actors, and their kids didn't really die. They don't even have kids. They're just actors. They're what's wrong with this country. They're being they're pawns of the state that's trying to suppress freedom and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, that's like as close as Vaush got, or closer maybe. So
What about? So I have some set criteria that I would deploy in order to determine whether somebody is morally culpable of somebody else's crime. When it comes to
Mhm.
influencers and like mass shooters and such.
run it by me. I'm
Huh?
good to hear. Run it by me.
So, I think that one of the criteria it has to be that whatever you're saying has to be either not true or some kind of half truth. That where if they're coming to a conclusion that if they didn't if they heard the context, they wouldn't have come to that conclusion. Does that make sense? So whatever you're
Yeah.
saying is making your audience come to a conclusion that's not within the realm of reality. So
and
that's,
you have to know it, right? You have to know.
yeah,
that it's
I
a
mean,
lie.
yeah, kind of, because if you're assigning morality, you're assuming that they are like they have some kind of agency, and if you don't know that it's a lie, then you don't really have agency to not tell that lie,
And that's
Right.
kind of honestly kind of hard to draw, right? Because during the pandemic, we had dozens and dozens of conservatives saying, like, don't vaccinate your kids. It's more harmful than anything. They should be going outside and playing. And they're getting, like, beef for that, right? And multiple people were saying how this is misinformation. It was labeled by, like, big tech as misinformation. And then it turns out that they're right. Like, vaccinating kids pretty much does nothing. Having them go outside and play is much more beneficial. And like in places like France where they actually banned the vaccine for teenage boys because I think I might be saying this right. I might forget a few details, but they banned it for like teenage boys because it was actually harmful to them. And yet that
What
was
about
still
for
called, like,
girls?
For girls, I think it was something to do with their sex organs, so I think that's why it had to do something with that. I could check, but yeah, it was a while ago when I heard of it
Okay.
or saw it.
So the first thing is you gotta be spreading misinformation.
Well,
knowingly.
I think what sorry, what's her name? Forg, or
Yeah.
I can't see. Yeah, Forg. I think what Forg is getting at there is who exactly gets to decide what's misinformation and what's not, because most media sources that you came across said that vaccinating your kids was beneficial, right? And if someone was banned from social media for saying that you shouldn't vaccinate your kids or have your kids get vaccinated, then according to the French government, that's erroneous because that's not misinformation at all, right? I mean, so how are we absolutely sure that something is misinformation? Is basically what I guess we're getting at here.
I found it. It was actually first it was in or what is it? Whatever. It was in a few countries. One of them banned it for under 18 years of age, and Sweden like banned it for people under 30. I might be wrong about it being France, and I could have sworn it was France. Oh yeah, Germany and France both ban it for people under 30 apparently, because it had a risk of heart inflammation. Like a much higher risk of heart inflammation.
Right.
So something that I've often found, I don't know if that's the case for whatever Forg is finding, but something that I've often found is that when people cite these vaccinations that's being banned, it's usually vaccinations that were not sold in the United States and were using traditional vaccination technology. It's usually not the Pfizer or Moderna mRNA vaccines.
It
that
was
get banned.
Moderna that was banned. It was
Yeah.
only
So
Moderna.
Moderna made different types of vaccines. What was it? The mRNA, Moderna
I'll double
mRNA.
check.
Didn't the United States pause Johnson and Johnson for a bit?
Yeah, we banned
wait.
Johnson and Johnson because of 5 people who had severe heart inflammation. So okay, let's look at a more clear-cut situation though, Steve. Something like Planet Pizza. I think that's what that place was called. Do you remember it? Remember the story? Pizzagate.
Ping
Alex
Pong
Jones?
Pizza or something. Yeah.
There was a guy that went into Pizzagate with Planet Pizza with a gun, thinking that there were children in the basement being harvested for adrenochrome or some shit like that, being
Yeah.
trafficked.
I mean, if there's literal circumstantial evidence that's basically indisputable, then sure. But these are different types of fruits, I guess.
Yeah.
Like scientific truth versus evidence based.
Okay.
Like a legal truth. Like there's no evidence that we could present in court, for example, that there were children in the basement.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so if it turned out that that guy listened to a lot of Alex Jones, and Alex Jones was
Yeah.
the one was actually perpetuating that theory, and presenting it as truth, would you put any type of moral consideration on Alex Jones for that guy's actions?
Yeah, I think I can agree to that. Yeah.
Okay. There were some other criteria I think that I had.
Wait,
But-
so what's the difference there, Steve? Like, what? How come?
Because it is still widely in dispute whether or not the vaccination is good. I guess for certain age groups or whatever, but it's not in dispute whether there were children being trafficked through the pizza joint, because there's literally no evidence of it. It's just not true. It's just false. It's false claim, right?
Yeah, what's funny
Yeah,
is that
but
now
the same thing with the Sandy Hook victims. You said like,
Right.
But you would give credit to you would credit people, the influencers who were saying, "Oh, the vaccines are dangerous, don't get it," to the people. Like, you would credit them for a lot of the people who don't get vaccines, right?
yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
On that note, I do have to go.
Okay.
Because I'm out and about. So I'll talk to you guys
look at
later.
you being out on a Wednesday night.
Yeah, I'm touching grass.
All right, have fun, dude.
later.
Okay, so the other criteria is going to be that you have to present this as if it was like an existential thing that has no other solutions. You may not say that you have to go do this, but you have to present it as like we have no other solutions. So the authorities aren't doing anything. Any type of violence for BLM, that any type of violence that happened during BLM that was contributed to false narratives, probably could fit into those types of claims. So it was like, oh,
There's no other option.
well, yeah, so it's like Jacob Blake got shot in the back 7 times by the police, which was true. But they also left out the fact that he was about to get into a car and drive off with children that he
Oh,
was.
I remember
He
that.
wasn't. Yeah, he
that was
wasn't.
crazy.
So he was about to get in the car, drive off with children that he was not supposed to have. A lot of the media, especially,
He sexually abused his wife. Pretty crazy.
well, that's irrelevant to that situation.
yeah, true.
Anyone that brings up a distant past crime and a justification for a current shooting is
Yeah, not justification. I'm not
fucking
like justifying it. I'm just saying like
dumbasses.
that's what happened. Like
Yeah.
they try to like say he's like completely innocent, he did nothing wrong. That's not true. But just like based on that, if he didn't try to steal a car with kids in it, that wouldn't be like, justification.
Yeah. So the stealing the car with kids in it, that was justification for shooting, and a lot of the left wing media, especially like YouTube media, left that part out. Some of the even mainstream like cable news, like glorified this guy. So that's where like I think that the misinformation comes in. And then it was people going online and saying things like the cop's not even going to get anything done to him. He's not going to get time. He's not going to get punished, and this is just going to keep happening. That made people feel like violence was the only answer.
And so would you excuse that?
No, I think that people who ran with that narrative, I would forgive.
Oh, okay.
I will forgive the mainstream media for getting it wrong the first time if they corrected themselves when they found out more about the situation, because you should expect news organizations to get breaking news wrong. It's an unfortunate inevitability if you're going to be the first to break a story, but they're going to get things wrong.
Yeah.
So like, but if they didn't correct their story later, then absolutely they were responsible for the misinformation, morally.
So if the cop's family were to like sue them for misinformation, would you say like they don't have a good case because media always tends to get things wrong the first time?
If they corrected themselves, then probably not. Because there needs to be some kind. Okay, here's the thing about breaking news. And this is I'm just stealing this from Destiny. It would be more responsible for any type of news organization to wait to report on any story that's happening for more information. The unfortunate reality is that if all the left-wing news stations waited until they got all of this story, then the right-wing news stations have already jumped on the story and they've just spun their narrative however they want it.
Yeah,
Um,
it's always who gets there first.
yeah. And I don't like it, and I wish it was different, but that's just sort of the way it is. I think there was another criteria that I had, but I forgot what it was, so I'm not even going to worry about it. But like, if a content creator fit into those categories, would you agree that they're responsible for the actions of the people that watch them if those actions are violent?
I don't think they're responsible for the actions, but I think they could be held accountable for something that's not true.
Okay, so when I say responsible, I'm not saying that they should be like legally held responsible. I'm saying like a more broad moral responsibility.
I know, like, I don't know. I wouldn't say that like they're the sole reason why. I mean, if a person did it and explicitly said like I did it because this person said something, then I guess you could like say yeah, then it's kind of their responsibility for saying that. But I think that could happen with a lot of things where people will just take things out of context and do it because of that. Like there could be a situation where a guy does something horrible and he says he did it because of this person, even though that person would like, just didn't say that, or like they corrected themselves or blah, blah, blah. I think there are like so many factors.
So what I would look at if it came out that the guy that shot Planet Pizza, or that went to Planet Pizza with a gun,
Did
was
that
watching.
actually happen?
Yeah, that's a real story. It's
Oh my
called Pizzagate.
god.
You were probably like in elementary school when it happened, though.
Probably.
Is Forg a young buck?
Yes,
Yeah.
I am.
I got you.
Steve already admitted that he wanted to groom him, not sexually,
Yeah.
but into his.
He wanted to
Eh,
indoctrinate me.
Bro,
Steve
he's a
did.
groomer.
Steve's a groomer. He wanted to indoctrinate Forg into his
Yep.
right wing ideology, and we can't let it happen. Experiment. He's
Yeah.
alright.
So
He-
you guys have to indoctrinate me now.
He's already 1
Eh.
foot over the line. We gotta bring him back.
Yeah, he's leaning right. We gotta turn. You gotta steer this ship in the right direction.
Yeah.
By that I mean the left direction.
So yeah, people would say, oh goodness, what was I saying? So the guy that went to Planet Pizza with the gun, if it found out that he watched Alex Jones, and Alex Jones was saying that there's these kids in the basement, the authorities aren't doing anything about it, they're being trafficked. You wouldn't put any moral responsibility on Alex Jones, even though like,
I would. put
you
more
know he got that story
responsibility
from
on
a.
him,
Okay. Okay. Cool. What about you, Experiment? Is Alex Jones innocent in this scenario?
No, he definitely fabricated that thing out of whole cloth. Like Alex
Yeah.
Jones just makes shit up, and it's so obvious. You watch his show,
Funny
he's like,
too.
I'm getting a text from like a certain secret person in the CIA. They say there's aliens in this person's basement. I gotta delete this text so there's no evidence of it whatsoever. It's like you're just making this shit up as you go, dude. Like you're on crack. But more prudent, apropos example of all this, and what I was talking about as far as the aggregate goes, is like the election lies, and you've heard about the potential indictment coming for Donald Trump this week,
Mhm.
and how so many people jumped on board with those election lies. And it's funny because this story crosses both paths of what we're talking about here, where Donald Trump kind of fabricates this whole thing, is searching for the lies. I don't know what's the saying when you're like searching. He's searching for an answer that he just made up.
Yeah.
Gets himself in trouble, and then you have all these other right wing media pundits just kind of going along with it. And we know that from the Dominion lawsuit that Tucker Carlson and all them didn't even believe it behind the scenes, but they were going out in front of their audience and saying these things that, like, at least giving credence to the idea that the election was stolen.
Yeah.
And if you get enough of that, people's heads, they're not following every single word you're saying, but they get a kind of impression of what had happened. And if they're in an echo chamber, that's all they're going to know and see. And so I think that everyone on aggregate is kind of pulling the strings there. And like, where do we parse out who's responsible for what and who did what? But then on the flip side of that, you have January 6th. And right after January 6th, you get CNN and all the other more, I guess, mainstream liberal, the liberal media sources saying that 5 people died, kind of making it seem like the rioters had killed people.
Yeah.
But no, it was like the rioters themselves that died, So like there's lies on all sides going around, but which side's lies are impacting the world in a worse way?
Yeah. Basically, what he just said is that everything sucks. But who sucks worse?
Yeah. It's kind of how you choose political parties, huh?
These days, yep.
Both
It's always
suck,
just the
but one
lesser of
sucks
two
less.
evils.
Yeah.
The way I look at it is you just got to minimize harm. And as far as media goes, like, nobody you find is going to agree with you 100%, just like no politician's going to agree with you 100%. But you have to do your best to kind of suss out the truth and what works and what doesn't, and not get stuck in an echo chamber, because I think that's really important.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Spirit, you play Pokemon?
fuck yeah.
Do you ever play PokeMMO?
No, I don't know what that is.
Oh. That's exactly what it sounds like.
Oh, Pokemon.
It's like it's black and white, and I think you told me about this before. It's black and white mixed with some other game, right?
Yeah.
And then like it's just your normal. Can you go online and like know other people there?
Yeah, there's people
There,
running
or
around
just you
everywhere.
alone.
No, it's an
Oh,
MMO.
My do you have to put it on a computer?
I have to put it on a computer. It can be on
Like-
your cell phone also.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, send it to me. I'll check it out.
Okay.
I like the old school games. The newer ones, I buy the newer ones just cause, and they're so easy. Like I don't want to play through them because they like level up your guys for you without even battling them.
Yeah, you can catch things and they'll level up.
Yeah, well, you know how it used to be. If you fought in that battle, then you get experience points.
Yeah.
But now it's like everyone just gets experience points. Fucking communist Pokemon. Everyone wins, and it's too easy.
Yeah.
But now lately, I've just been playing Wild Rift on my phone, League of Legends on my phone. I have the newer Pokemon, but I haven't even finished it. And that's about all the time I got for video games.
Yeah, honestly, I don't have much time unless I'm like streaming. I set some time aside for streaming, then I'll play. I just downloaded a game called Naraka Blade Point. But I read that the skill cap on that game is so fucking high. I'm not going to be able to like get into it because I'm just not going to have time. Just want that. Oh man, so anything else? Anything we all disagree on? Are you Forg? Oh shit.
Yeah, I already do too much of the Wild Rift.
Forg.
What about you, Forg?
Me? What do I play?
Yeah, you play video games?
Oh yeah, a myriad of different games. Like probably too many. I could check. I'm in a Fallout phase. I really enjoy Fallout. I'll play Rust with my friends. The Outlast Trials. I used to play Call of Duty a bunch. Payday 2 a bit. Those are kind of like the main ones I can think of off the top of my head.
I see. Yeah, those are good ones because like those are ones a lot of other people play, and I kind of wish I would have gotten into Call of Duty because just playing with people online and keeping in touch with them, you know. I don't know if you do that or not, but like
Yeah, oh yeah, I'll keep in touch with them.
you keep in touch. I know my cousins used to play it a lot, and they're like, "Oh, bro, you got to get Call of Duty so we could play together." But I didn't because I was too cheap to buy the game system. Now we're not friends.
Now,
Ooh.
rip.
Nah, just kidding. We're all friends. Not as close as we could have been.
Oh, what to do?
Oh, have you guys did you guys ever play The Last of Us?
I have.
I
that game was
did
good.
not like that game. I don't like stealth
Really?
games.
Didn't really.
I don't like stealth games.
It was fun. The story was interesting.
Yeah, the story was really good.
I kind of didn't like the end though. I kind of thought it was lackluster, but I guess it's because there's a part 2.
No, the part 2 doesn't really. I thought the end was really good. I thought it was like, it made you think. You know, it made you kind of
Yeah.
think of like who was right in this situation.
True.
Because those people were trying to kill her without like letting her know. And as Joel, I went in there, dude. I went so ham on the doctors
Oh
Like-
yeah.
because they're defenseless, you know. So you could just do whatever you want to them.
Uh-huh.
I used a flamethrower, a shotgun, and then just bare hands on the last one. And if you use your bare hands, he takes their head and pounds it into the wall, and it splatters everywhere. It's insane.
Did you see the show?
Fun. Yeah,
No, I haven't.
I just finished watching the show. That's why I brought it up.
I know there's a little bit of controversy because of the gay couple, right?
Oh, they were in the game.
That was a great episode. Not because it was a gay couple, but because like it was just a well done episode.
Yeah, I haven't watched this show, so I don't really know anything about it.
But yeah, I'm sure people got ass mad about it.
Yeah.
More butthurt than the gay couple.
Yeah.
I'm Frank from the couple. Yeah, I didn't hear any controversy about that, but I'm not in those circles, you know. I just
heard a
thought
little bit.
this was cool. I think they're in the game though. They're gay in the game. You just don't ever see Frank because it's implied that he's dead.
Yeah.
I mean,
That
I
guy's
always
already dead.
kind of assumed Joel was straight because does he have like pictures of his wife? I assumed he had a wife because he has a kid.
Oh yeah, no, it's not Joel that's gay. It's Bill.
Isn't it
In
Bill
the
and
game. What's that?
Isn't it Bill and Joel though that are the ones doing it or like making out?
No, it's Bill and some guy named Frank.
Oh, never mind. I thought it was Joel. That's why I was just mostly confused. I was like, oh, I thought he had a wife. Okay, never mind.
Hey man, it's the apocalypse.
Yeah,
there's
you gotta
limited
do what you
people
gotta
around,
do,
yeah.
man.
Yeah. You ever heard of prison gay?
Yes.
Joel's prison gay.
Gotcha.
But no, I thought the show was really good, and the game. I thought it was, I like things that make you question your
Yeah, for
morality.
sure. No, but it was definitely satisfying shooting the scientist guys.
Yeah.
I
So-
don't like stealth games. That's why I couldn't play it.
Yeah, I don't like stealth either. I kind of despise it, but it's just kind of the story that kept me going, and the gunplay, honestly, was pretty fun as well.
Yeah.
It's a really good
Mhm.
story, though.
The only reason I tried to play it was the story.
Yeah, it was the only game that's gotten me close to ever like crying. Never cried at a movie or game before. I want to.
Wow. Yeah. Have you played? There's this Walking Dead game that came out similar
Oh, I
time,
have it. Yeah.
where you're kind of put in a similar situation where you're like this protective figure over like a little kid,
Yeah.
and you have to make all these decisions in the story.
Yeah,
Ah.
I've heard. Sorry, what?
I have that game on my computer.
Yeah, I pirated it, so
Nice.
I could play it. I just haven't. I don't know why.
Yeah, if you like The Last of Us, you'd like that game too.
We aren't really. Oh my gosh, I had a voice crack. We aren't really talking about politics that much, huh? Kind of just more like a laid back, I guess.
Did Bread return to my server, or was I making
he
that up?
did. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
No, he's back.
Did you
I-
call him out, Cluck?
I didn't call him out. I didn't talk to him. I don't know why he keeps coming back.
Likes
I
their
don't know.
drama.
He likes it, yeah. Maybe nobody else will feed into him except for me. I like fucking with Bread, and because it's like this conversation's so not serious, and sometimes I don't have time for like a 3-hour long conversation through
Yeah.
text. So with Brad, it's like I don't want to respond right now. Just leave and watch TV. Leave him hanging. Fuck him. I just think he's kind of fun. You could just fuck with him. I think it's fun to fuck with him.
I don't know, man. He gets on my nerves sometimes.
I don't know him at all.
All right. What's a political thing we could argue about?
I don't know. I
What's-
mean, I don't know. I haven't been really like watching that much politics recently.
Politics is boring recently. It's all trans issues, and it's fucking dumb.
I
No,
Uh,
Donald Trump. Anyone been keeping up with what's going on with Trump?
Absolutely not. I hate president politics. They're so boring to me.
Well,
That's what I was thinking this week about the indictment. It's like this is a pretty big indictment coming down, but it's like the third one, you know? So it's like it doesn't have the same effect as like if it were a standalone indictment.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like the first one, Stormy Daniels. I heard about that. I'm like, what the? Who gives a shit? It's Stormy Daniels. Like I don't care if you paid money to Stormy Daniels. I get you're not supposed to do that. It's against the rules, but whatever. And then the second one was taking the secret documents, which is like, all right, what the hell is he doing now? Like, are they gonna get him? I doubt they're gonna get him. These things take for so long. And then now this one is like the January 6th stealing elections, like ending democracy type of thing, and it just, I feel like it's dead silence
Yeah.
until maybe because it hasn't happened. When it does happen, then there'll be a lot of coverage of it, but we'll see. I think there's unions going on, strikes going on. I don't know what else. Yeah, I don't know any other major issues.
I think what would be interesting is if so Donald Trump gets until tomorrow to actually go defend himself versus the latest indictment, and I guarantee you he's not going to do it. And I don't know that should be. I know it's not going to be. That should be damning to any of his fans, like the fact that he doesn't go and like defend himself. But
It's all a publicity stunt, I feel like, for Trump. That's why he's winning. Like most of our vote, or most of the conservative votes, it's just he's a guy who isn't afraid. I think people just like that about him.
what is the publicity that he's getting? Like you think he's getting indictment as a publicity stunt?
I think he's just doing stupid things so he's all over news again. Otherwise, he's irrelevant and no one cares.
Yeah, but he did the
I
things.
think that's the whole shtick of his. I think that's his whole shtick is he does crazy things in media and people either love him or hate him for it. Like Trump is always a man that's on your mind, and I think that's his point. Like it's someone you just can't stop thinking about.
Yeah, but these are like past things. This isn't like stuff he's doing
Yeah,
recently.
yeah.
These are like things he did in the past, and could put him in prison for the rest of his life.
The things that he's being indicted for probably weren't a publicity stunt, but he's probably doing a publicity stunt in light of the indictment, just probably like not going to it. He's just like doing whatever. Like he's just saying, I do what I want.
Yeah, he acts like he's not afraid.
Yeah.
Spins any situation into like, oh my gosh, this is so unfair. Look at how corrupt the whole system is.
Yeah.
He did put out something recently that was, I didn't look enough into it, but I heard about it, of him like wanting to throw out everyone in the FBI and the DOJ. Like he wants to throw everyone out. Like, you know how they say drain the swamp? Like he legitimately wants to get rid of all the people and put his own people in. That's like one of his recent plans, and I think that's kind of scary considering what he did with the last election. Just because the only thing that really stopped him were people that weren't his sycophants.
Yeah, I don't really know anything about the presidents, but that's what it feels like to me, just him doing whatever to get attention. I don't really keep up with like the Biden stories and the Trump stories. They're boring to me. I don't know why.
And they're ongoing. They never stop. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
All right. Oh goodness. Sorry, I'm playing Pokemon.
And what else is there to talk about that's
Finally
like
got my-
political?
Let's see. Political.
Do you know what Michael Knowles said when he was talking about what is it? Transgenderism must be eradicated. What do you both think about that? If you heard him say it.
Oh yeah, believe me, I've heard him say it.
Yeah. I think Cluck might be doing something right now. What do you think about that?
I don't know what another point I wanted to make about the conversation earlier is like people need to be precise with language and not misuse it. And I am guilty of doing that myself to make something sound more like I use exaggerate my language to have more fun with the conversation. Because if you're not exaggerating things, it kind of gets boring and dull. But maybe that's how it's got to be. But like with the term groomer, like I think that is it's misused, it's overused. It implies that people are turning kids, like trying to fuck kids, and I don't think that's the situation. But with the transgenderism thing too, it's like, how do you eradicate transgenderism? With it has real world implications. Like maybe he's just talking about we want to defeat this idea because he doesn't think that transgender people are inherently transgender. He thinks that he doesn't think that they're born that way. He thinks that it's like a mind virus. It's like, oh, this is the trendy thing to do. I'm going to become transgender, and people just choose to do that. So maybe when he's saying we want to eradicate transgenderism, he wants to eradicate the idea of becoming trans and make it culturally unacceptable to ever do that. And therefore, like, in the end, you have this theocratic state or whatever the hell it may be that has to keep this idea under lock, and you eradicate all trans, and then there's going to be no trans people because the idea is gone. But it's like that if what he's saying, if his thought that they're not born that way is wrong, then it has real world implications for trans people, and it causes serious harm. So I think what he's saying is, it sounds like the most like Vosh would take that and say, look, he's trying to kill. He wants to actually like gun these people down. He wants to eradicate them. But I think he's talking about the idea, which is still dangerous because it's if you block access to certain type of healthcare for these people, if you try to ostracize them in society and there's nowhere to go, people get in their own fucked up mental state, and then you get a bunch of, they either kill themselves or become extremists, they become alienated, and might become like mass shooters. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I would I'd say I agree with Michael, where I think what he did is use a poor choice of words, where he says eradicate. And that's a very like big word, right? And when you say that, people think usually like kill. To eradicate a person, we have to eradicate this thing, right? Like that usually points towards like genocide or something. And I think it was just a shit choice of words. What I think he meant is, yeah, to take away the idea from society. And so what you were saying is the way to do that is like blocking healthcare, like trans or gender affirming healthcare, right? To ostracize them. That's not necessarily what comes to mind when I think about it. And I listened to Michael talk about it a bit after the situation, after what he was saying. What we mean by exterminate, right? Or what Michael meant by exterminate is, the refusal to let the refusal to call someone by their, like quote unquote preferred pronouns, the refusal to not watch like these shitty Hollywood movies where it's just like a giant scheme of like adding more of this trans things down people's throats, or it's just shoving them down their people's throats. Just not supporting things that support this type of idea. Not exactly like killing people, not really taking away gender affirming care, not really any of that. Just not bending your back to these people, not letting them control you.
Okay. Some things, I don't know how they're controlling you by just existing.
Okay.
So you'll have to explain that to me.
Okay, I'd love to. So what I mean by control is if you do not call someone by their pronouns, it's happened to me before, you're ostracized. And that's the thing is, trans issues, it's still a hotly debated topic, and it's not exactly like pure truth yet, right? Like it's not like you're denying someone their right to live. You're literally just not deciding to call someone by their pronouns, and you're ostracized for that. You think of as like less than as a human. And there are laws going around in like Michigan. There is a law that was proposed where it'll actually be a felony to misgender someone. In Canada, a man, he was in court. He was talking about his biological daughter. He called her a she, and he was arrested shortly after. And it's not trans people directly, right? It's not like they're barging into my home and like shoving stuff down my throat and like beating me up if I don't call them the wrong pronouns. But it's definitely like an issue with society and our like government now, where they're bending their backs to trans people, and that's directly affecting us. Is by them getting their way, we can't like do our own thing. It's kind of crazy.
Well, okay, yeah. I don't think that people should just be arrested for using the wrong pronoun. But I will say that if you've encountered a person that you misgendered or whatever, they are more defensive because they've already experienced like a more extreme version of what you're talking about, where immediately off the bat they are ostracized, often by their parents and their entire community. People have to leave their churches. I have friends that have had rocks thrown at them just for walking down the street, and you have like a group of Christian protesters or whatever it is. So these people kind of face a lot in their day-to-day lives that you might not see, and now they're kind of banded together and they have kind of pop culture on their side, and they're kind of, sometimes it seems a little too extreme, but there needs to be a happy medium met where people can just accept that, okay, these people, maybe it's like a guy that is a girl, okay? To you, it's a guy that looks and dresses like a girl. They look a little funny or something. They're not attractive. You're not going to fuck them anyways. So, like, what's the big hesitance of calling them? What is like what's the hesitance of just referring to them as a girl? Even if you don't believe that, is it the biggest infringement upon you?
I mean, once you start bending to lies and you reject truth, then society starts to go like extremely downhill. I think that you should put truth first, and okay, like you know Ben Shapiro's line, right? Like he says, facts over feelings. It's kind of a cringy thing, and he'll often put his feelings before the facts. But I think it's a very true statement where you can't just put people's feelings in order to make them feel better. Because then you start to then it goes down like a downhill spiral where you're rejecting more and more truth and you're accepting more and more lies, and I think that's an extremely dangerous thing to do.
I don't think. I mean, it's not that. Well, one, it's that person and like the way that I see genders and the way because I probably is the farthest left on the Discord about identify what genders are. To me, it's just kind of a tool that we use to ascribe a person a specific role in society. So like if somebody's a female, if somebody tells you that this person's a female, you kind of have all these lists of things that you're running through with that person before you go meet them. We're gonna go meet my friend Jenny. Okay, Jenny's probably got long hair. She's probably shorter. Or like shorter than your average guy. She's probably maybe thin, maybe fat, you don't know. But a female-shaped body. She's going to behave in these certain ways. There's all these different things you tack on to it outside of just like, oh, her chromosomes are XX. Like that's not the first thing you think of when you think of what a female is. You might think you want to date, if you're a single guy, you're looking to date, it's like, oh, we're going to go meet Jenny. Like I might have an opportunity here. But there's other things in society that like these roles play a part in, and I think that's all the transgenderism thing is, where it's not that you have to be biologically male or biologically female. I don't even think they say that about themselves, but I think it's like this is the role that like this is how my brain works and how I want to behave and how I want to act and how I want to be seen. Can you recognize me as such? and I don't think it's that hard to do. Yeah, I just don't know what the big fuss is about. Like how it's so detrimental to the world.
If you have you ever had a teacher or call you over and over again, she, her, the little girl over there?
Huh?
Have you
Sorry,
ever had
I-
like have you ever had like a
bad.
teacher or some kind of authority figure call you she, her, that little girl over there, you know, stuff like that?
No.
When Cluck was a kid, he looked very feminine. So he
Yeah,
was
so yes, exactly. Do you think that if like a teacher was constantly doing that, do you think it'd make you feel bad?
Like it would make me feel like weird. I'd wonder why they're like calling me that, but it wouldn't necessarily make me feel bad. No.
What if your peers were also doing it?
If I wouldn't feel bad. I'd think it was stupid. I wouldn't feel like bad. No.
And the other teachers, if they were
No,
doing it?
I wouldn't feel bad. I'd think it's stupid. But
you're- and
what
you're-
do you mean by feel bad? Like
Like would it make you feel maybe insecure?
No.
What if it was your parents?
if it was my parents, no.
Okay, well you've got more secure and you got more confidence in yourself than most. You've got much more of a self-loving attitude than most
Not
people.
really, but I appreciate it.
I think that most people, if they were being misgendered, whether they're cis or trans, would probably feel some type of way about it if it was constantly happening.
Yeah, I mean, if you have you do you work for?
No, sadly
Oh,
not.
okay. Like if you've ever gone to a job site where it's like a construction site and it's all dudes, the way they, you know, suss out who's the little bitch in the group is, you know, they'll call you names, they'll make references to you like you're a girl, and it can get pretty bad. Like it's essentially just picking on somebody. And you said you felt ostracized when you misgendered somebody. What was it that made you feel ostracized? What did they do to you that made you feel like you're left out of the group?
Okay,
And
well,
did that make you feel bad?
Okay, so the construction job thing,
Mhm.
I have a group of friends. We definitely call each other like girly stuff all the time. We'll make fun of each other all the time for that sort of stuff. But, I mean, we'll call each other names and stuff, and maybe that's a part of why I wouldn't really feel bad if someone was calling me that, because I think I build up like an intolerance. And I play Call of Duty, right? Call of Duty is notoriously known for being one of the, you know, most toxic places on the internet. Now, why would I feel ostracized if I had to call someone by their pronouns? I wouldn't feel ostracized. I would feel uncomfortable because okay, so this leads into a completely different conversation about whether or not transgenderism is like supported by science, you know, all of that. But I'd feel uncomfortable because it's going against truth. That's why I'd feel uncomfortable. And then, yeah, this leads into a whole nother conversation, which I'm happy to have, but it's definitely a very hard one.
Wait, hold on. If calling you feel uncomfortable calling somebody she, her if they were born male because it goes against truth, wouldn't it make you feel uncomfortable for people to call you she, her because you're cis male because it goes against truth?
I think it does go against truth, but I wouldn't feel uncomfortable because that's them making the decision. I don't want to bend to their rules. I don't care if you're denying truth. You can deny truth. I don't want you to make me deny truth. And that's where I think a problem arises.
Okay.
Oh, no, what I was talking about when I said ostracized when you're misgendering somebody is you yourself told me that you have misgendered somebody, and you know, the transgender people or whoever it was that was around, like kind of made you feel uncomfortable, like they came after you, and that was why this is an imposition upon you, is because if you speak your truth, they'll come after you and make you feel otherized. And like, so that's what I'm trying to tell you is like when you don't speak their truth, they feel otherized. So that's why there's these clashing heads going on now.
Yeah, and then that's the thing is, then you have to piece together which truth is the correct truth. Like who is actually right in this in this, like this conversation? Who is actually right?
Yeah, and it depends on how you look at things and how you want. Um, and yeah, it depends on how you look at things, of course, but like how you want to, like, what is the societal role of gender?
Do you want me to answer that?
Yeah, what's your definition?
My
Why do we have a thing called gender?
my definition of gender, or not my definition, I consider gender the same thing as sex. That's what I'd consider it as.
Yeah. Okay. So it's just there's no. But okay. So why is it that women are expected to behave one way while men are expected to behave another way, or is there no difference, or do you think like men and women behave exactly the same?
Expected, like traditionalism, like a woman is supposed to stay at home, a man is supposed to work. Is that what you mean?
No, just like in normal everyday interactions. When I'm talking, like, you know how like Steve was calling Emma a fucking bitch. You know, it's like you don't really
Yeah.
call a guy a bitch if he did the exact same thing. You call him he's a fucking moron, he's a this, he's a that. But
Yeah.
it's like, no, she's a fucking bitch. So it's like when women behave a certain way, either they're more aggressive, they're more, they don't take no shit from nobody. Um, people don't take it the same way as if a dude were to act that way. And there's a reason for that, is because like I think we expect people to behave in a certain way when they are of a certain group. This could be said for races as well. Have you ever met like a really racist person who, if they're telling you a story, they have to tell you the race of every person in the story? Like, oh, there was this black guy. It's like, what does him having to be black have to do with the story? And it's
Yeah.
like, well, it kind of gives you an idea of like maybe like this guy, the reason he's telling you it's a black guy is because he's dressed more of like a hip hop artist, or he talks in a certain accent. There's groups that we expect to behave in certain ways, and everyone has their different expectations. But in general, every society has male, female, and that role for males and females. Even if you're the most liberal, feminist society, there's different ways that we expect people to act and treat people.
So why do I think that happens?
I can't remember why do you think that is?
I think it's because honestly, it's mostly just biological. Women are, even in other species, they're much more, I guess, timid. They're, much less tough. Like even in like human biology, women are 100%. They can be less strong than men. Men are typically more strong. They're typically like more hard-headed. Men are expected to work more because of that, because they usually face like more, I guess, hard things. Women are expected to be, I guess, a lot nicer because they aren't as strong. And I heard this interesting point where, the reason why women, if they don't like a guy and they'll tell him like, hey, I'm sorry, you seem like a nice guy, like, sorry, I just can't. Whereas guys, they'll usually just be outright. They'll be like, I don't like you. And I heard a guy talking about it, and he said that one reason why is because the woman is inherently much less strong than them. It just takes like one bad remark and one bad guy to all of a sudden ruin your life, and he's much more powerful than you. So a man talking to a man, right, he inherently feels more powerful because he is more powerful as a man, and a woman talking to a man, and these are like generalizations, right? Like,
Yeah.
obviously there's strong women. There are women out there who could beat my ass, all right? I'm not denying that. That's 100% true. But in general, there is usually a lot more feminine women, and there is usually a lot more masculine men, and so that's why I think.
So, we get that because in general, like the bell curve for men is maybe overshifted to the more aggressive, strong side, and the bell curve for women is shifted towards the more meek and physically smaller side, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
But that doesn't. But so if a guy is acting very feminine and weak, you're saying that doesn't make them a woman. That they're still a guy.
Yeah.
And if they would you be cool with them wearing or growing their hair out, dressing like women traditionally do, whatever, they wear dresses, act in all other sense Blair White, they look like Blair White, and in your brain you are like, if you didn't know this person, you would just think they were a biological woman. Would you be cool with them doing that, but just still being called a guy, a he/him?
Like, would I consider that person a woman or not?
No. Would you, like, if transgender people wanted to dress, act, and behave like Blair White, and they were all passing-looking women, but they're like, no, my pronouns are he/him. Is now all of a sudden is it cool if they do that? Like, do we still take an issue with transgender people because they're acknowledging that they're male? They just want to act and behave like females.
I'm fine with like tomboys and whatever. I don't care if you're a masculine man or a feminine man. That doesn't go against that doesn't go against truth.
So it's just the language that you take issue with?
It's the biology that I take issue with. Or wait, no. Oh, the language of calling a man a she her is what I take issue with. Yes, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, and then say once they turn 18, these people want to get their body modified to have all the parts of a woman, but they still went by he/him. Would you have a problem with that?
I would say you can go and do something like remove your penis and add a fake vagina. I don't think that's a good thing, but if you're above 18, actually I have a more like weird take where I don't think you should be able to like drink alcohol and buy guns until you're in like your late 20s, like 26 or something.
Damn.
But yeah, 18 is generally, where people are considered adults. So,
yeah, what we culturally decide is an adult, I guess.
Yeah. So in that case, I mean, yeah, go ahead. I think it's a really bad idea, and it's something awful that you're doing to yourself. But if you can go ahead and smoke, which is really bad for your health, I mean, I go ahead, I guess, as long as it's hurting nobody else.
Okay. I mean, I don't know. Cluck, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
My question to him would be, okay, so man, women, he, she, her, that all refers to sex. What do you call the titles in which we put on people that generally based around femininity and masculinity and the levels of each? They are societal in nature. What do you call that if it's not gender?
Someone who's feminine or masculine?
So if somebody is more feminine presenting, more masculine presenting, there are certain societal expectations and ways in which we, as a culture, treat these people differently. Do you agree or disagree with that?
That we treat them differently if they're feminine or masculine?
Yes.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so what do you call that if not gender?
If they're feminine or masculine?
That phenomenon of the way society treats people differently when it comes to those types of things.
The thing is, society treats you differently on literally everything. I don't think you have to put a name on everything that society will base you different on. People will treat me differently whether or not I'm wearing Nikes or Crocs. Like, I don't think we have to give a name to that. I think it's true that you're treated differently if you're feminine or masculine. I don't think that's gender. I think that's just people treating you differently because that's what people do.
Okay, but so when somebody says that they're a woman, they were born male, do you think that they are biologically female?
Where if they're a male but they say they're born female?
No. If they are born male and they say they're a woman and that their gender is woman, they go by she, her pronouns, but they were born male, so they're a trans person. Do you think that they think that they are biologically female?
I think that they think no, because I hear a lot of leftists, like I heard you say this when we first met, right? I hear my dad say this a lot, where gender and sex are two completely different things, and so I think people who are trans will think that they are, in terms of gender, like if you're born a man, I think they're in terms of gender that they think they're a woman.
Yeah, but you just said sex and gender are the same thing, right?
Yeah.
So you just said that no, I don't think that they think they're female, but in terms of gender, they think they're a woman.
Yeah, because I'm going by their standards. I don't agree with that. I think gender and sex are the same thing, and I think that saying that they're two different things is wrong. But if you're asking me what a transgender person thinks,
Okay.
of course I have to go against what I
Okay,
I
okay.
want to say. Okay?
So what do you think they're speaking of when they say that I'm a woman, if not the biological?
I think what they mean by I'm a woman is they're referring to like the gender side of woman that people talk about.
So what is
Or-
the gender side of woman?
I have no clue,
Oh, okay.
because I don't believe that gender and sex are different things. I could define what a woman is, but in terms of like what people believe the gender term of the gender side of woman is, I couldn't say because I don't believe in it.
Okay.
You could tell me, or one of you could, I guess. Like, what is a woman in terms of gender?
I think it's just the societal expectations of what a woman, how a woman acts and is, and what they do, and how they look. You know, there's never a one size fits all, of course. Like you were saying, like the Crocs and the Nike things, but it's like you don't have a label for that, or people don't have a label for that. But we have labels for like hippies, or a deadhead, or like a punk rocker guy, or whatever the hell it is. It's like, what's a punk rocker guy? I don't know, a guy with a mohawk and.
I don't know what gender and Pokemon have to do with each other, but like why they're exclusive, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's a good game to play while doing a gender debate.
So, like, if you were to ask me what a woman is, there's just like a whole bunch of different attributes. And if somebody checks off more of those attributes and wants to be a woman, then like, okay, like I don't give a fuck. Go ahead, be a woman.
Okay, so when you say like,
sure.
wait, so you say a woman in terms of gender is how a woman is supposed to act? Wait, could you say it one more time?
A woman in terms of gender is a bunch of different attributes that society has decided is womanly, I guess I would say,
So
because
what
there's some groups of people might see the woman as the person who goes and gets water from the river. Other societies might think a woman or a man is the person that goes and gets water from the river, and that's just their societal roles. That's the narrative that they've made up for themselves, because for whatever reason, at some point in time, that's what logically made sense. And
So-
yeah, go ahead.
That's an unreasonable standard to hold someone to. Say these actions or traits define you when these traits can define anybody. Like a man who fetches water is not a woman just because they fetch the water,
what
which is
if,
why we need to have something we can hold them to.
what if
Like in
a
your
man,
previous,
sorry, I thought you were done. Sorry.
like in your previous example where you say punk rockers and hippies can be multiple things, there's still a standard we hold them to. Hippies typically do drugs, listen to a certain kind of music. They might not be exactly all the same thing, but a hippie is a type of person. Punk rocker is someone who at least listens to punk rock. So if we have some baseline standard to define a group, we should define a group by it. So a woman is not just someone with 2 X chromosomes or just someone who can give birth to children, but that's the minimum of what a woman is.
Well, there's people that don't have, can't give birth to children. There's people that don't have 2X chromosomes and have a vagina. So like biologically things get muddy as well.
Not that muddy. You can have
that's a real.
outlying
Those are
you
real
can have
things.
outliers and aberrations, sure.
So what
but-
are those people? Are you going to call them women or men? or you just they're an aberration. They don't fit into this small box that I made, or this box that I made, and therefore they don't get a label.
There are people who are not women or men. That's true. At least not by the singular characteristic that we define the group by. But if they apply to other characteristics that largely define the group, I think we can give them a label that fits them, but that doesn't mean we don't have a standard to define the group broadly, just because not every single person in the group fits it.
What I would define a woman is honestly just by going by chromosomes, because it's extremely easy. But like you said, there are people with different chromosomes. I would consider those people intersex, but yet there are people out there who also have chromosomes, as showed to me by... It might have been you. I think it was someone else, though. They showed me an example where there are people who have they have some weird chromosome that can do everything that a biological woman can do, and I would consider that an outlier, because I checked and it's 1 out of 100,000 people. And of course, like, when you're trying to define things, there are always gonna be like outliers that you agree is that thing, but it shouldn't be so like common, that outlier, to where it becomes like a genuine issue. Like you say women in some societies like go get water from the river. What do you think a woman is in like America? Just give me like a quick sentence. What do you think a woman is in America?
It depends on what community you're in, but kind of like what we were saying earlier, if I think of an American woman, I think of someone who's smaller in frame than the other group, or on average smaller in frame, maybe has longer hair. As far as like the roles that they play, they're more likely to be a teacher, they're more likely to be a nurse, they're more likely to do more housework around the home, they're more likely to be like kind and caring, nurturing parents, just things that you would expect of a woman. But like this isn't these are like, now we're going outside of what because I'm like ultra feminist. Like, I see what my perfect world would be is all people just do whatever the fuck they want and act however they want. And I kind of think America's trending towards that way. The right wants to split these things up and not allow people to become women or call themselves women or men.
The major problem.
The thing is people are allowed to do what they want, but you can't push that on us. It's kind of the thing where, within the past 50 years, there's been this huge talk of Christians, right? And how they're pushing their ideas onto other people. And so I agree that at least in like a school curriculum, Christians should not be pushing their ideas onto children. But I also hold that same exact standard for people of LGBTQ, is you should not push your ideas on other people. So you can still live however you want, right? You can do whatever you want, just don't make us like have to don't make us have to do what you want in order to make yourself happy, because you making other people do what you want them to do, that's not living freely.
So like don't teach these things in school. Don't if a kid comes to you and wants to say, like, if a kid goes to a teacher and is like, hey, I'm transgender, you don't want the teacher to validate that.
No,
at least bring it up to the
absolutely
parents,
not.
type of thing.
I mean, what I evaluate it?
No, validate it.
Oh, validate it?
Fuck, I should have called it.
I wouldn't want them to validate it, but at the same time, I wouldn't want to make the kid feel ostracized, because I disagree with the kid, right? Like, I don't think that you can become the separate gender, but your job as a teacher, it isn't to validate any of your kids' thoughts. It's not to deny any of your kids' thoughts. I mean, if a kid comes up to you and he tells you they're transgender, it kind of depends on the case, right? But most of the time, like, you don't talk to them about it, right? You just say, like, okay, great, go sit down, buddy. I mean, you're not supposed to show what you believe in as a teacher.
So kids is kind of the firm line for the issue anyway. Like, adults can call themselves whatever they want, do whatever surgeries or life-threatening medicines they want to take because that's just the society we live in. But we should not tell kids or compel them to join this group with a 42+% suicide rate
Yeah.
and tell
So,
them,
okay,
oh
we're-
yes, this thing that you have a 60 to 90% chance of not feeling in the next
Wait,
3 or 4
okay.
years.
so
That's
so
all.
wait,
real quick. I'm going to go and I'll hop back on. I got
All right.
speaking of kids. I got
I
to put
think
them to
Liv
bed.
wants to talk.
yeah. So if you're talking about we shouldn't compel the kids, I absolutely agree. We shouldn't be telling kids, "Hey, you're trans" or something like that. But if a kid comes up to a teacher unprompted and it's like, "Hey, I feel like I'm trans, and I would appreciate if you called me by the the opposite gendered pronouns," then what is wrong with the teacher respecting the kid's wish?
Because it's also
the teacher should not affirm something that is not true.
and then
If a teacher's job is to teach the truth, then don't affirm something that isn't.
Okay, but
Right.
you guys are this whole argument that it's not true is missing a whole aspect of the human experience that is the sociological experience of whatever sex or gender. We call it gender, but you guys refuse to use that word, and you don't have a word to talk about that experience, that whole side of the human experience that's usually based around sex. So I don't know what else to call it but gender.
okay.
Misperception or identity.
Okay, go ahead.
Hold on. Okay. So if you're calling a kid by their pronouns, all right. But by that, you are also pushing that onto other children who are hearing that. If a kid who's Christian comes up to you and says, "Hey, I have to pray every day in the morning, but I don't have time because I have to go to school. Could you please pray with me every morning?" A teacher should say yes, right? Because they want to make the kid comfortable, right?
The whole why does the kid need somebody to pray with him to affirm his Christianity?
Why does a teacher need to call someone by pronouns if they're so sure that they're a woman or a man?
Because
That's the thing.
within society, we affirm people's gender with pronouns. That's just a thing we do within society.
Actually, there's a better comparison. So gender dysphoria, one of the biggest causes of it are depression and anxiety. And there are many other similar mental health disorders, and one of the most common ones is anorexia. So should we have teachers tell anorexic students, "Yeah, you're fat. You fatty." Like, that's a ridiculous statement. That if a student is anorexic, they're probably not fat.
Okay, but the difference is that calling a anorexic person fat is pretty well proven to not be helpful to an anorexic person, whereas affirming somebody's gender seems to be a thing that can help
Okay.
a transgender person.
Affirming a child's
I like
affirming a
this.
child's gender
Okay.
has shown to put social pressure on them.
Yeah, that's the thing.
It has
It
shown.
will make a person feel temporary relief because obviously if someone, for example, I like to compare this to schizophrenia. You might not agree with that, but let me say what I mean, alright? So a schizophrenic person, if they see shadow people everywhere and they believe that these shadow people are real, I'm assuming that people telling them that those shadow people are real would make them feel a lot more comfortable. They're not the only one there. Other people are dealing with it. It's okay. Everything's gonna be fine. It's a normal thing for people to go through. But it doesn't help. That's the thing. There is no proof that telling these people these things will bring them any joy whatsoever. And in more liberal cities, you actually see a higher depression rate among transgender people.
Okay,
I've heard the opposite, that people's satisfaction after getting surgery goes way up.
Okay, so
That's
the
incredibly
thing.
temporary. In
So-
less than
yes,
10 years,
exactly.
they have the highest suicide rate
It's-
of all, which is something like 43%.
Temporary. It will bring down their depression for a while. I'm not denying that. It will bring it down for a while. But after a few years, their depression gets just as bad or even worse as it was before the medical transition. I could pull something up, but yeah, it gets even worse after it.
It also
doesn't
depends a
help
lot.
much worse.
It also depends a lot on their age. So people who are older and trans, so in their 30s or 40s, are more likely to be happy after going through the surgeries and remain fine because they're already in their 30s or 40s. But younger people who are 18, 19, 20, don't have a full worldly perspective or anything, are almost guaranteed to be the ones to off themselves. Not saying that they're almost guaranteed to do it, but of the people who do, they're the most likely. and it's especially after the surgeries. But the highest rate of happiness afterwards are female to male who are on testosterone, because testosterone's a massive upper.
And what you'll see is if you go onto YouTube, right? If you look up detransition, almost all of the videos are people detransitioning and telling you to not transition. That it was awful, it was a huge detriment to their mental health, that they wish they had never gone through it, and it has caused so many issues for me.
Wait, yeah, of course. If
I
you look,
swear.
wait, of course, if you look up detransition, everybody who's going to say it's going to say detransitioning was or transitioning was bad for them, because you're looking specifically for a group of people that felt that transitioning was bad. But there is a whole group of people who also felt that transitioning was good for them, and they're happy with their transition.
Yeah, but you can't just look at the trans people's experience and say, "Oh, this person's happy with transitioning, so it's probably a good thing."
Yeah,
You have to look at both sides
you would
before
have to,
making such
yes,
a dramatic choice.
yes, you would have to look at studies that says, well, this was good or this is bad, in order to come up with a conclusion as to whether or not something actually is good or bad.
One of the biggest problems, though, is people are largely not being told the side effects and consequences of going through these things.
Yeah,
So,
Like
if
taking cross-sex
They
hormones.
have to be told, like, if you're
No,
going to a
very
doctor-
rarely are they told. Very rarely are they told all the actual details. Like the
So
fact
if
that processed
you
hormones
look up-
increases your risk for diabetes, heart illness, strokes, and every other problem really in the book. Or the fact that that also increases your risk for depression and suicidality.
Okay.
The thing is also if you look at
wait,
side
hold on,
effects,
I'm gonna have to call out. Wait, so what are you saying increases these risks? You're saying
all
that
those things can be caused by cross-sex hormones, and almost always are.
okay, but every single treatment's going to have side effects. You can get liver damage from Tylenol. Does that mean
Yeah,
I
but
shouldn't
here's
take
the
it for my
thing is
headache?
it's much higher in these
Yeah.
cross-sex hormones, and the thing is you're prescribing these to children, and if you've never done it before, you shouldn't be using children as guinea pigs to figure out whether or not it actually has any like negative effects. And that's the thing is when you say like, yeah, you're looking for a group of people who have who didn't like detransitioning because they who didn't like transitioning because they detransitioned, so obviously they're not going to like transitioning. The thing is there must have been at least one person who just detransitioned because they felt like, hey, maybe I was in the wrong, right? Maybe I actually am a guy, I'm not a girl. But what you find is almost every single case, they're saying how awful it was, and how when they're giving these cross-sex hormones, there's so many side effects that it made it harder to live. That's the thing, is it's in such a huge group of people that like you can't deny that it's worse than so many other things, and that it's such a huge problem.
Your claim, what percentage of people that go on cross-sex hormones is going to experience these side effects and then detransition?
It depends.
Because you got to be specific with that claim. Because of course,
doesn't
everyone that's
matter.
detransitioning.
It doesn't matter
does
if it's
matter.
25% or 50%. If it's
Well,
greater than
what if it's
5%, that's a problem.
And here's
It's
the
not.
thing
It's not 0.5. The statistic would be irrelevant if it was 0.5. 0.5 is probably
That's
lower than
very
people who
low.
suffer liver damage from abusing Tylenol. If it's a bold or a significant enough statistic to bring up, it's probably somewhere in the ballpark of
So
15 or higher.
I've
Which is
actually
a
looked this
large
up, and it's very, very hard because most of the side effects come from not using it for like one day. If you use it one day, it probably won't do that much.
Of
The
course.
thing is you can't really find an exact number because so many people just don't believe in it.
Okay,
and
so it's
kids who
not
are being
50
told
or
that everything is going
25%.
correctly, they won't say that something is wrong because they're saying, oh, it's all fine, it's all giddy giddy, hooray. And so, of course, they're not going to tell someone that something is wrong because they think nothing is wrong. And so that's the thing, is it's so hard to like pinpoint this number on kids who are literally being told that things are okay when they're not. It's so hard.
Well, hey guys, I'm open to changing my mind if you could provide me with the numbers on like these transitioning, and if it shows that more 20-year-olds, like you were saying, feel these effects because maybe they are. Like, you are messing with people's hormones, and there could be a lot that goes wrong with that. I mean, we've all been through puberty, and you know how emotional and crazy that whole roller coaster was. So I could see how if somebody is a male, and they start taking the hormones to be more feminine or female, and they skip a day because they're irresponsible 20-year-olds, that it fucks with them. So, but if you're going to make the claim, I got to see the proof.
Okay,
You know what
so
taking hormones does? Like skipping a day is
Wait,
completely
Mark,
irrelevant.
answer this question real quick. Are you getting these numbers from a
Not with
study?
birth control.
Like, have you ever seen a study on this? Or are you getting these numbers from
I
any type
have,
of study
yes, I
whatsoever?
actually have,
Okay,
yes.
okay. Mark, have you ever seen like a study that said that cross-gender hormones is making people more transgender people more depressed overall?
Yes.
Okay.
There are
I,
actually quite a few of them.
I would really love to see
I'll
these
look
studies.
for them right now. I'll look for them right now. But I would like to respond though. Is you said you want numbers, right? So there's already a lot of things that are wrong that we've told you, right? Is that they're bad after, like the people are more depressed after they go on these therapies, and that's a pretty easy thing to find. I'll find that for you. I'll get that. Don't worry.
But it's one of those things where it's like on aggregate, are people worse afterwards? Because if we're helping, if you know, in aggregate, if you were saving, 100 transgender people in fucking
So
San
you
Francisco
would
or
rather
whatever,
make
and you
900
save,
more trans people depressed and save 100. I think it's a
No.
much better route to try and save like 99% of them by getting them into therapy and actually helping them
Okay.
instead of giving
Well,
them drugs.
The big
well,
problem
now
is
you're saying that the
statistically.
therapy is going to be better for them than going on hormones. I mean, you got to show some mathematical, statistical,
Well,
some evidence for
the
this.
thing that
have
people-
to-
The thing that people are missing is that a lot of people who are on hormones are also in therapy, and they get prescribed these hormones by their
Yeah,
therapist.
therapy that promotes that's the thing, is therapy that promotes that idea.
They're going.
And I'm not
to
saying, like,
promote
put-
whatever is scientifically proven to have the best chance of helping their patients.
Okay, so I'll address that, but I'm not saying like put kids in electroshock therapy. I'm saying give them actual help. Give them people that will tell them that their actual gender or sex or whatever you want to call it at birth, it is actually what they are. That this is what they're supposed to be, and that they should take pride in that. They should feel like no shame. They shouldn't feel like they're the opposite for some reason.
One of the bigger problems is that so many people these days are chronically online. So there's lots of people, especially you can hear who are trans, or especially we're like on Tumblr a lot, or on these certain forums and corners of the internet where they're effectively being groomed these days, and really a lot of their choice seems taken when they're told on all sides by everybody that, no, we love you, you're great, you were just born in the wrong body, that's really hard, and you should do these things. Like, we're convincing people by the masses
So
that they were born wrong or something went wrong
experiment. I think the experiment and I are both against getting on hormones because somebody on Tumblr told you to. We would probably, I can't really speak for experiment, but I would guess that he would agree with me when I say that before you get on hormones, there probably should be some kind of gatekeeping to that through medical professionals. And you might be able to make an argument that there's not enough gatekeeping. And, I'm not able to disagree with that. Maybe there is a little bit too much of this gender affirming sentiment within the medical community, and too much hatred towards any type of gender unaffirming sentiment that any
I hate to sound
individual
like a
doctor.
conspiratorial dude, but I hate to sound like a conspiratorial kind of guy, but it's not really gender affirming anything in the medical community. It's the fact that these people are making between $400,000 and $1.2 million over the course of their
you know
lifetime.
what?
for
They
these
can
treatments.
make money
Have
doing
you-
any
hold
sort
on,
of
hold on.
medicine.
Have you
It doesn't
guys
have to
seen-
be
have you-
transgender
Yeah,
affirming.
but you can guarantee
Hold on.
permanent
You made
patients,
a
wouldn't
very
you?
good point, Mark. I want to elaborate on it. Have you guys seen the Boston?
So we're
Children's
giving
Hospital
therapy to
Safety
people.
video?
That would guarantee fucking patient for a lifetime, wouldn't it?
Experiment.
Therapy's not permanent, like putting a speculum in your body to keep a wound open.
Have you guys seen the Boston Children's Hospital video? Have any of you seen it? Have
I've
any-
seen
Uh,
many of them, yeah.
The
don't
one
know
where
what
they were
video
talking
you're
about doing
referring to. I know that somebody had mentioned. Yeah, I looked into that. Somebody I got into that with Brad. Go on. What about it?
You're talking about the doctors who said that
Or
the
you're muted.
mastectomies were guaranteed like $20,000 or something.
Borg, you're muted. Okay. Um. So, Mark, do you think that gender affirming care, hormone therapy, doesn't help transgenders in general?
Depends on the person. I know a lot of transgender people. Some people are happier, some people aren't. Some people have been doing it for longer than others have. But generally speaking, I would say the cost benefit analysis is not worth it.
Okay, so if it
Just-
was the case that the most people that ended up going on hormone therapy turned out to be happier, would you say it was worth it?
If
It
that
depends
was
on
the
how
case.
long we're talking about. If someone's happier for a year, that's perfectly expected. If someone's happier for 20 years, then
Well, I wouldn't
that's the
expect
point where we can make these considerations.
So hormone therapy might not be able to make somebody happy for a long period of time, just like antidepressants probably isn't going to make
Well,
somebody
then
happy
why would you
for a
give
long,
it to them
long
if they're
period of time. Because there could be other things that's going on in their life that would cause depression 10 years down the road.
That's the thing is you can't just give someone a temporary drug that's gonna affect them much like down the long run. That's gonna
Well, no,
make
this
them
is
much,
this is a
much
good
more
point. There are
depressed.
lots of reasons people end up depressed or in bad places.
Hmm.
But
Yeah,
if
but
we see people not being benefited, like if someone does none of the surgeries, none of the other risky things, they're just taking these hormones that increase their chance for heart disease, liver failure, and other illnesses. I just don't see how that's better than someone who doesn't take the hormones and just gets, I don't know, their healthy breast removed, which I think is an unfortunate thing.
And that the thing is yeah, it could be a thing where it's like something else made them depressed, right? But if it is such a large amount of people to where the average depression rate is above where it was before, I don't think that's
Okay, you're
like,
going to have to show
I
me
don't
the
think
study
that's
that
true.
proves that.
Yeah,
that-
because every major medical association does this in America. Like
Okay, so that's
it's
what I
been
was talking
approved,
about.
it's been looked at.
That's
You
the thing
don't
I was
get
talking about.
like medicine for these things that isn't scientific, and like with worse patients or with worse
Okay, so
patient outcomes.
that's what I was
We
trying
live.
to focus on.
Yes,
Why would
you
that be a
do.
thing?
What?
Have you
How
guys
would it
You
seen
be all
absolutely
over?
do.
Have you
Absolutely
guys-
do.
Like what?
Hold on. First off, medical bodies have been giving SSRIs, which we've seen, 30 years of data that proves that people are more depressed and worse off after taking them. Still give birth control, which has some of the largest amount of side effects for women. They gave thalidomide to women off and on for about 5 years, which caused massive birth defects in infants. We've seen these problems all the time, but they're lobbied and they make tons and tons of money. That's
And
what
I'm
the
still
big
looking.
pharma concept is.
That's what I was talking about. Is the Boston Children's Hospital video? Have you seen that, Cluck, or have you seen that experiment?
I don't know what video you're
Where
referring
they
to.
were, it was a lady and she was on like a meeting and she was saying why they should give gender affirming care to minors. Have you guys seen that?
No.
Okay. I don't know why you're. No, I haven't seen it.
Okay, so the only point that she gave was how much money
All right, post it.
was how much money they'd make. They never talked, not once in the whole time did they talk about the mental health of the patient after it. The whole meeting was just talking about money. That's all it was.
All right,
There was
post it.
absolutely nothing else.
So
And then
could
this
you-
organization was doing it for as young as, I think, 14-year-olds. Which,
Sure. I mean, you have a private hospital, right? Is it a private hospital? Is their goal to make money?
do
I
the
mean,
doctors
it's this woman's
still take an
role-
oath?
What's that?
Do the doctors
It's-
still take an oath not to hurt their patients?
I mean, the woman doesn't say we know. I mean, if the video is as described, I didn't hear them say we know that these pills are going to hurt our patients. She just says, "Hey, we should provide this service. Here's how much money we think we're going to make from providing this service." That seems pretty
So-
straightforward to me.
So these are
If we
hysterectomies.
don't have the data to say that it won't, then
You're saying that
Agree.
the Boston Children's Hospital is offering hysterectomies because of the money?
I don't remember if they said anything about hysterectomies.
Hold on.
They definitely
could
talked
be.
about mastectomies. They definitely talked about hormones. I don't remember anything about hysterectomies.
Oh, okay. Maybe he said mastectomies, and
Yeah.
I heard it as hysterectomies. Misleading me.
So you're saying we don't have the data that suggests that it will help them, but you don't have the data that suggests that it will. You have data that suggests that there's side effects or harms, which is true for every medication. But you have to. I'm still like wanting the numbers for aggregate numbers. Like,
So
if you give 100 people this medication, how many are gonna be worse off because of it? Versus
you
a
give
control
100
group.
if you give 100 people anything, the statistical or the statistics for any medicine, if you give them to 100 people, is that nothing will happen because 100 people is not a large sample size.
I'm using
Looking at
100 as like a simplified percentage to get percentages. Let's say 5,000, because that's how many people have how many youth have transitioned within the past 5 years, right? It's 5,000.
Okay, I mean,
How
I
many
can
of
tell
them
you
are
how
worse
many-
off?
What percentage are going to benefit versus feel like detrimental side effects? Because if it's a large percentage, I'll be right there with you and say we shouldn't be doing this. We shouldn't be giving this to people. We should just socially accept people as
well, honestly, as far as the shortest term
women.
benefits, there's probably close to 100%. Like as far as shorter term mental health improvements, but in the long term, it's only been 5 years. We don't know how many of them are suffering massive consequences, how many have detransitioned or stopped taking their medicines. Because I saw the data was something like 75 to 80% of people don't go back for more medicine after their first round.
Okay, that's going to be true for like a lot of mental health medicines.
Yeah, of course.
Medicines, that's just the thing that happens. Doesn't mean that the medicines don't help. It just means that people probably are having issues, other issues that are keeping them from
people have
I'm
going
not saying
back.
that it's something that
access to
doesn't help. I'm
healthcare
saying that it would make it hard for data.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So it's like data collection is difficult because we're dealing with a small amount of people that.
Wait, so I still haven't seen any
varying
study. Like,
degrees.
do you want me to? Do I have to post the studies first?
So
Like,
the only reason that I haven't pulled anything up is because I'm about to go to work.
oh,
And I don't
okay,
have time to do a bunch of like online digging.
okay. Would you do it later and post it, so I can read it?
Yeah, I can do it later.
Okay.
Yeah, I've mostly been focusing on talking, so I can't really concentrate on anything else.
Okay, because like what y'all are saying goes against what the established medical narrative is.
Yeah, but the
So
established medical narratives aren't necessarily good if they're all about supporting whatever the common,
Okay, so
whatever the common good is.
I would have to see evidence that that's what's going on and that like the established narrative is wrong before I'm going to go with that.
But then that leads into a completely different,
But I
conversation of whether or not the idea of being transgender is real or not.
Well, regardless of if it's real, if these medicines are helping them, then that's kind of irrelevant to this conversation right now.
Okay, so yeah, I think
I
that
agree with him there.
is we
like-
can't we haven't showed you yet, so you aren't like. I have it somewhere on Google Docs, but I looked it up and I can't find it anymore. But it was on one of my Google Docs sheets. I'm looking for it right now.
Yeah, we can disagree about the general concept, but the medicine benefiting people mentally or physically has nothing to do with whether or not gender does or does not exist.
Yeah.
I personally don't think gender the way it's used today is accurate, and I went into a whole tirade on that yesterday, but
I personally
talking
wish
about,
like,
we'd stop
Body
using.
dysmorphia, or are we talking about? Are you just talking about like social constructs of gender and like what we were talking about that before you came in?
yeah, so gender as a social construct,
What
I
is a
think is an
woman?
inaccurate way to
Can you
point
tell
it
me
out.
that?
The way it was used
Gender affirming
before
care
as
means
directly linked
they
to
want
sex, I think was
When
fine,
you allegedly harassed her,
and it made
I'll say,
sense, but there isn't like some
Shame because
sexist,
who
physical,
knows?
and gender,
Now blame
social,
you do sort of
that
control.
doesn't
It
make
encrypts
sense
all your
because it
network
doesn't
data
hold
and
up to
tunnels it.
scrutiny.
ExpressVPN works.
Insofar as
genders.
when you
We
start
have
asking
parents who
questions
tell
like
us that their
what a woman
kids,
is, what
they
you're
knew
talking
from the
about with
minute
a
they
guy.
were born practically, and actions like refusing to get a haircut or opposite gender toys, things like that.
They knew this from the time that they were born. Literally from then they're born. They knew they were in that gender. Usman campaign into a terrible false story. Schools be a sentiment. Libs of TikTok was open organizations were. Her evil happens next.
Yeah, I can't find it. I don't know why. It used to.
God
Like,
damn it, Ford.
I
People
swear
are
to God,
organized.
I'm not lying. I literally just can't find it. I have no clue why. I've tried like every keyword.
All right. Well, now I'm gonna actually have to dig into like the medical research on this stuff
Okay.
because
I
I'm
would
kind of
absolutely
with,
recommend it. No matter what you find, it's a good idea to always look into this sort of thing.
Well,
Yeah,
that's the thing is the medical organizations when they first pop up, they say there are no side effects. Like, or no, they
No,
don't say
you're not going
none.
to see a
They say
study
there
that's
are.
going to say none. That whole there's no side
Yeah,
effects.
that's what I said. That's what I said.
The
That's why I
only
corrected myself. There are
yeah.
side effects, right? But they like severely downplay them, and that's been showed in recent studies. And I'm trying to find them. I don't know what it is. I
Okay.
literally just can't find them.
So here's what I have found that happens just in life. We've got we got organizations that do like scientific studies and surveys and experiments. We've got scientific media that reports on them and does so as accurately as possible. We've got other media that's more establishment, but is and reports on these types of things, but they're going to probably be more sensationalist. We've got social media, which is going to report on these things and absolutely get this shit wrong. Social media tends, and even to some extent, the third type of media that I talked about, they will talk about these things and get it wrong. And then when you hear them get it wrong, you think that that's what the more scientific media and the scientific community is saying about this. Because you've heard it so often from like the social media and the non-scientific
So
side of media.
here's the hard thing about it is it's also not easy to find this data just because like the idea of being transgender wasn't a thing until like two or maybe not 2 or 3, but very recently. There aren't many long-term studies, but the ones that are there, all of them show a decrease in mental health after the first couple of years.
So gender affirming surgery at least has been performed since 1931.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's something that no one really cared about.
That is
was
not
a
true.
hot topic.
So gender as a current concept wasn't even mentioned in writing until 1949.
Okay, so I'm
As
looking.
far as surgeries that benefit your mental health, maybe, but
Okay, so I'm looking.
not gender.
Okay, so I'm looking at the National Institutes of Health. Says gender affirming surgery has been performed since 1931.
Okay, well that's a first resort Googler, or that's a first result Googler search.
Okay,
So
but
I
are you
don't
going to
know.
tell me that the National Institute of Health is lying?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm
You're
saying
damn
you can see
straight I
what they're
will.
talking
National
about.
Institute of Health has lied about a lot of things,
Oh yeah, well that is true. I
lot
have
of-
actually seen them talk about
as
a
well
lot
as
of
obfuscated data and omitted information.
Like,
yeah, but
okay.
even if they were saying that, I'm not saying they're wrong, which they might be. Honestly, they could be wrong, but I'm just saying check about what surgery they're talking about. Because back then it might not have been about transgender, but now it is. Like I don't know.
Yep. That's exactly the thing. They could be talking about double mastectomies, which have been done for a long time, but weren't necessarily for gender, or even
Okay.
phalloplasties, which have been done before, but weren't about gender.
Vaginoplasties,
Yeah, vaginoplasties.
where they're
Okay, I found one.
where they're
Not the
Turning
reconstruction and the way it's been done, but the removal of the penis and all that has been done before.
so
Nowadays it's reformed to look like something or other, but nah.
So what you're okay? So here's what it says: gender affirming surgeries, generally described as urologic, gynecologic, or plastic surgery, intended to change a person's anatomy to better match their gender identity and to improve patient quality of life or reduce symptoms of gender dysphoria. Patients often refer to these surgeries as top surgery, e.g., mastectomy. Yes, that's it. Breast reduction, breast implants, or bottom surgery, hysterectomy, vaginoplasty, and phalloplasty. Gender affirming surgery has been performed since 1931 and is shown to increase quality of life in transgender
Okay.
patients, with 91% of
There's a
transgender
catch.
females.
There's a catch. Is every study I've been going through studies of detransitioning. Most of them have said improved quality of life. I've clicked on them. It says a year after, a month after.
Mhm.
you know, like very short periods
Yeah.
of time.
So show me the
These
ones
aren't
that.
people that just detransition, though. You're just looking at that select group of people.
I just found one, but I'm reading through it to make sure it's
You
right.
got to look at
'cause
like
I don't want to say
everyone
I
that's
don't
got
want to
it,
say
and
anything
then how
wrong.
many people detransition.
Yeah, I'm looking at one right now that talks about, what was it, 15 years of checking in with these patients. But I'm double checking that it's, you know, like it doesn't say anything wrong, because I don't want to provide, you know, a source that's wrong or anything. I'm double checking it. Oh,
Oh man, Mark
guess
left.
he had to go to work.
I was just gonna ask him what how he knows that organization lied.
The NCIS.
Mhm.
I don't know.
So
I don't really see too
my
much about it, but it's definitely a leftist organization.
well, my guess
I
is
don't
when he
know.
says my guess is when he says lie is that they had some kind of study that said one thing, but it turned out to not be completely true, and that was disproven by another study.
Mhm.
Which is a thing that just happens in science. It's not them
That
lying.
yeah.
That would be my guess. It's like when people say that anyone who said that that two
Vaccine.
yeah
You were 100% like you weren't able to get COVID if you got the vaccine, and then it
yeah
turns out later on, no, you can get COVID if you have the vaccine. It's like, well, our initial studies with the initial variant was all good, and then the virus changed and the vaccine became weaker, whatnot, you know.
yeah.
And so it's like him saying that they lie. If that's the case, you know, that's why I need to ask him where he's getting that from. Itself is kind of a lie, you know,
Well, I think
or
they
like a misunderstanding.
of what the word lie is. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um.
because that's how science works. It's like it adjusts its position based on the most current knowledge of data.
It could
Or
also be something like the masks during COVID, where they said children need to mask up, but then other people were like, "Well, children don't need to mask up; they're at very low risk. Look at this." But the fact of the matter was that children needed to mask up not for their own protection. The masks were never meant for your own protection; they were meant for you to stop spreading it to other people.
Mm-hmm.
So a complete
Yeah, but-
misunderstanding of what their original intent was in the first place.
Yeah, I think the issue with the mask though was like this type of, you know, it was like what type of mask is actually effective versus not, because I went around the whole time with a cloth mask, and I think later on it was found out to like this provides very minimal protection as this cloth mask, and you're supposed to be washing it, you're supposed to be doing all this other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, I mean, but I didn't get out much.
Well, for the original variant, I think even cloth masks offer some kind of protection from spreading it.
I think I don't know like how much the variant would affect that, because it's just the means of transmission is like the virus would get inside your like little bits of saliva that become aerosolized in the air, and then
Mm-hmm.
you know, is the mask preventing those bits from like actually traveling outside your face region and landing on somebody's eye or in their mouth or on their hands, or where they like rub their face and getting sick. But I think like, I don't know, I heard a study that later on came out that was the cloth mask weren't as, it gives you maybe 5 minutes of protection.
I mean, I would think that the reason the variant would matter is because if a virus is more infectious, that means it's going to take less of the virus to actually enter your system to be able to actually cause an infection. Which means that if the cloth mask is offering, 5% protection, that's going to protect from a less infectious disease more so than it's going to protect against a more infectious disease. I mean,
yeah, okay, I could understand that, but I'm not sure how much. I thought the original one was like super, and maybe Delta may have been more, but I thought Omicron was less.
So the original was more deadly but less infectious. Delta was somewhere in between, and Omicron was more infectious but less deadly.
Oh, okay.
cloth mass. Well, let's see. Let's see what the science says.
But yeah, I've not wanted to dig into the fucking trans thing because I thought it was just such a ridiculous. But it is like the issue of the day. So
Yeah.
now we're gonna have to do some digging.
Yeah.
It's just kind of hard because it's such like it's something that so little people deal with. Like already transgender people make up a very small amount of the population, right? And then the people who are actually transitioning make up a very small amount of transgender people. And so it's kind of hard to find any long-term study really, one like supporting either side. It's hard to find any of them at all. I haven't found a single one. I've heard of one from Sweden, and I've seen articles talking about it, but I haven't found the actual study, and that might be because it's written in Swedish or something. But I'm looking for it right. I'm looking for something right now.
Yeah, nobody ever seems to really provide these studies or like cite them. It is usually pointing to like the credibility of some organization. Like when I hear like right wingers talking about it, it's like, well, this country over in Europe, stopped providing trans care because they found out it was bad. It's like, okay, well, show me the goddamn study that they found out it was bad, or was it just, their the culture, the zeitgeist just shifted.
Well, what happened in Europe was that there isn't a whole lot of studies for gender affirming care and hormones on children. So some European countries stopped offering that except for in experimental settings. Because there's just not enough data, which is reasonable, I think. But then that got blown up to, oh, well, this is proof that it's bad. Well, not necessarily, but I think it's evidence that it's not this fix all that the left tends to make it out to be, like there's no side effects and it's going to completely make them happy. I think it's evidence that it's not that. Also, it's evidence we need to look into it a bit more.
Here's another question, right? It's quite obvious if you give someone what they want, they're gonna be happy. If you give a kid a piece of chocolate and he wants a piece of chocolate, he's gonna be happy. If you give a trans kid who wants gender affirming care, or even any person gender affirming care, it doesn't have to be a kid, they're gonna be happy, right? And so that's the thing is, it's 100% true that they're probably going to be happy after it. It's what you have to look at in the long run. What actually happens to them after it? Does it actually help? Like, it might help for a bit, but does it, help in the long run? Yeah.
So what I would say is that if you find that it helps for a bit, for a large amount of trans people, I still think that the treatments are probably worth it. You just got to work on more intervention tactics you're going to be able to deploy between the time in which they start taking the medication and start becoming happier, and the time in which the medication may stop making them happy. You got to figure out something else to do in between those two times. So if they got 10 years to figure something else out, then that's what they need to do.
And also, like, are they remaining in their preferred gender, right? Because if they remain in that preferred gender, then they just still get unhappy. And if this is more of a cycle, I don't know what the term would be, but some like brain abnormality or something going on in their brain that makes them want to be this other gender anyways. Maybe it's the transgender symptom is also linked to like a depression symptom or whatever the hell it is, and they're like, it's just always going to be that way. So you could treat the depression and maybe they still want to be transgender, or you could treat the transgenderism and they still are going to be depressed. There's a lot of things going on there, I think. So if they're remaining the same gender, though, I think that would be, in the affirming that the treatment for that gender affirming care was a good thing. Does that make sense?
Makes sense sense to me. Oh, rip. Rest in peace. All right, time for the echo chamber. Let's go experiment.
Oh shit! Let's
Biden's-
talk a bunch of shit about him.
But
Biden.
Biden's
2024.
base. Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes, please.
The-
Daddy, give it
The
to me.
base god king Joe Biden.
Woo! Yeah. Gosh, Trump is awful, and also transgenderism is the best thing to happen in ever.
I'm gonna make my kid transgender. I can't wait.
Do
It's
it.
just
You
'cause,
would be.
just 'cause.
It would
She
be
needs to be
abuse
the
if you
other
didn't.
I always wanted to have a boy, and she's a girl, and I'm not getting, what I want. So I'm gonna make her a different gender.
It's only fair. I mean, as a matter of fact, you are their parent. You know what's best according to right wing ideology.
She's my property. She is my property.
Exactly. Yes.
Oh my fucking god! Yeah, I've avoided looking into this like deeply because one, I don't have a lot of time, and I've just thought like, oh fuck, like this issue will blow over. I don't have to really have all the stats, but like, I'm wondering where these guys begin with their research, because obviously they're going to hear it off of like Temple Show or
Ripperoni.
let me go open the door.
You went completely out. You went and then left.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Oh, okay. Let me try to fix this. Yeah, my wife called me because I locked her out of the house.
Damn. She's
But
your
yeah,
property.
well-
She's your property also, right?
She's my property too. Oh, now she gave me a dirty look. I'm gonna go to another room. I'll get in trouble. But yeah, so what do you have? Because I feel like you have research documents.
I don't think I have anything on transgenderism actually.
Oh, man.
It's been a while since I've actually added to my research document. Let's
I
see.
know it. I've gone through a move and having a 2-year-old and fixing up a old house. Not much time.
Let me see. Let me see. Let me see.
But like, do content creators ever provide that stuff? Like, wouldn't it be good if they just had a shared document for all the research that they look into when they do these debates and things?
That'd be great. That'd be so fucking awesome.
Like, I mean, it's not hard to dig through it. I could spend a couple hours digging through stuff and find it. Oh my god, and look into it. But it's just kind of. I think those guys are coming at it with this. They had a whole set of assumptions that then justified this idea that the medication is bad.
Yeah.
Like the whole there's people online telling them to do this, and therefore they're going and doing it, and it's like, I don't know. We don't, and like the money aspect and stuff. It's I just find those arguments kind of weak. Like, I want to see the data.
Yeah, it was actually interesting. They made like statistical claims, which you don't usually see. Oh shit. Yeah, it was actually interesting that they made statistical claims, which you don't usually see, without some kind of data. But like honestly, I was going through the research while we were talking, and it's just like every single study that I found said that it shows improvement. Now, maybe I can get into the numbers or something, and it will be like, oh, well, there's only like a 3% of these respondents said that they saw improvement, and because there could be issues with the studies, I guess. But like you said, they've got to show that, and like I don't understand if there are issues with these studies. Why are there no studies coming out saying the opposite?
Yeah, it's a conspiracy, man, because they want to fuck kids or something.
Yeah.
I don't know what the conspiracy is. Like,
I don't. My thing, it's like, you know how the right likes to complain about fact checkers? They're like always talk about how there's a liberal bias to fact checkers.
Oh yeah, like if there's like a Politico or Snopes
Yeah,
article,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, this is. Mhm.
Yeah, I'm just like, well, what are these fact checkers doing? They're taking a claim and they're looking into the details and trying to discover whether this claim is true or false. If all these fact checkers have a liberal bias, where the fuck are the conservative ones? Why is there no conservative sites that do the exact same thing?
Yeah, I think they act dishonestly. I haven't found a right wing person or like pundit. I shouldn't say person, but like the pundits, or journalists or whatever or politician even. Of course, the politicians. Uh, and they always skew information and words and like
Hey, Bonbon
heavily omit things so that they can say what the hell they want. Like we're gonna have to dig into it and find both both studies. Like I'm sure those studies are out there that prove that it's wrong. If there is no studies that or not prove but show that like transgender care is bad for kids, and it's like, well, maybe like there just isn't. And if their argument is like, well, there's not enough of them, though, you can't have the studies, like, but you have to justify your belief
Yeah.
somehow, other than just like this feeling that you have, other than this because I think one of those guys, like, oh, usually what I do is go looking, like, I have my conclusions, and then I go looking for ways to verify my conclusion of like,
Ad hom?
not ad hoc,
Post hoc.
confirmation
It's
bias.
post hoc.
Yeah, or
Post hoc.
a priori beliefs.
Yeah.
Yeah, like post hoc justify it. So it's like, no, you can't. That's not. I mean, I guess that's what we're doing, but I'm open to changing my damn mind.
Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you. Where'd
Yes.
Okay, my internet like just stopped working. Apparently, like the power cord that connected to my Ethernet overheated or something.
Is that your dad?
Huh? Yeah, he was telling me that he's gonna go out.
He sounded so country.
He's not country at all.
He sounded so
We live
country.
in Cali. That's like not the most least country state ever.
No wonder you're a conservative. Oh gosh. If I lived in California, I'd probably be a conservative too.
You think Cali's bad, really?
Probably in a lot of ways. They're like from what I understand. And I've never been there, but from what I understand, they're like the quintessential. We're gonna take a lot of taxes, but we're not gonna give you a whole lot for it.
I mean, the thing with Cali, it's like the Florida of the liberal movement, right? I don't really. I think in Florida, some things that they're doing are a bit over the line. Same with Cali, though. Cali, yeah, it's literally just the Florida.
I know what we can talk about. This not transgender issues.
Okay.
There was a situation recently where Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, demanded that if they see migrants crossing the river, for them to like, oh goodness gracious, can we just watch a video on it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I don't want to
Yeah.
misrepresent.
Or something?
I don't
But
want
they
to
weren't allowed
misrepresent.
they weren't allowed to give water. They were holding. I think they were. I don't know about guns, but they were basically trying to force these people back across the river and not. let
Yeah,
them cross.
yeah.
But it was like children, and they just didn't want to be accommodating to them at all.
I understand the both. I kind of understand the both sides on like illegal immigration, but I'm not really that into it. I don't really know if I could support conservatives on this one. I think I'd lose pretty easily.
Oh.
Let's go for it though. I mean, I'll
If
try.
we're
Why
gonna, if we're gonna
not?
circle jerk,
Give it your best.
Nah, yeah, exactly. I mean, that's. The
I wish
point,
Mark
right?
was here. I guarantee you, Mark would have something to say
Yeah,
against
Mark
it.
Mark definitely would have something to say for sure.
Oh, Steve fucking hates illegal immigrants.
Yeah, but
Actually,
Mark.
I'm not sure if he hates.
Oh,
them,
Steve.
no, Steve hates it. Steve hates immigrants. I'm not sure that it comes from a place of like
Immigrants or illegal immigrants?
all immigrants.
all immigrants. Like
Oh.
anyone. Steve has told me he would be a white nationalist if it was a feasible option.
I'll ask him.
But yeah, I'm not gonna try to speak for him, but that's what I've heard.
the fuck? Why can't I find it? How you spell Abbott? Abbott?
Yeah, I haven't really talked with Steve that much. Here, I can find the video. What was it? Greg Abbott. Illegal immigrants.
He's got a lot of stuff about illegal immigrants. Like yeah, you might have to look at like the Rio Grande, use that word, or at the border or something like that, because he's done a lot. There might be a lot of news about that.
They made like
Oh, it was a
little
Philip
water
DeFranco.
things that they can't get over. A
Yeah.
mobile floating border.
I'm looking for the wrong content creator. That's why.
What do you think about illegal immigration? Like,
I
in
think
general?
illegal
Do you think
immigration.
it's an okay thing to let happen.
I think illegal immigration is a consequence of our piss poor immigration policies, and that if we fix our immigration policies, illegal immigration would not be a problem anymore.
Wait, so what do you mean by like piss poor immigration policies? Like, give me an example.
So-
I don't know that much.
So a lot of people who are against illegal immigration, they'll say something like, "Why don't they just get in line like the rest of them?" When the truth is, there is no line that they can get into. There's 3 reasons why a person can come in to this country legally, and that's going to be asylum, a lottery system, and work visa. And if you don't have one of those 3 things, you cannot become a citizen. And I think that's kind of fucked. That's why people are coming in illegally, because they don't have a way of coming in legally.
And if they come in illegally, they can't become a citizen either. Like, there's no way they're going to become a citizen if they're illegal.
So a way you can get in is by using a green card, right?
Yeah,
Is it
that's
hard to get a green
like,
card.
But that's going to be a work thing, right? That's going to be like if you have a job in the United States, you can get it.
You have to work.
Is this?
Use Kayak to find the hotel you want
Water?
at the price you want.
Orange Joe's got
Download
a
the
lot of
Kayak app
things.
now.
What's that?
This is a brief history of B&H, everyone's favorite
it's
photo
just like-
and video store. The year was
Dog or if I went to
1973.
the green
The
card
Mets went to
wall.
the World Series.
Oh, his family
The first
reunion
cell phone
was
call was
that's
made.
good.
And Blamey and Herman opened a specialty
Yeah, and
photography
I
shop
think
at
that
17
they're
Warren
all
Street,
like,
New York City.
If you have family,
They had a simple philosophy.
if you have family here, like that's already here and established, you're more likely to be able to get in as well.
Today, we're talking about
All right. Let me...
Yeah, I don't know that
If-
much about
And keep in mind, all of these incidents
All I
took
know
place
is,
just
like,
over the.
people.
We
want
need to
to
recognize that
because,
these
like,
are people.
we kind of suck.
Those that
at,
included, as
gi-
well as
giving
by a
them a
Department of
chance to
Public
get in
Safety
in the
trooper to a
first place,
superior
and
and
their
viewed by
countries
Hearst
also
newspapers,
suck,
which
and then
owns the
there's-
Chronicle,
and then
as well as
people
CNN. And notably, all this
don't
comes
want
as
them
with
because I
small
think
Houston
it's
Chronicle.
something
Officers were
taxes,
World.com. You
and I
beautiful,
hate
appreciated it. Let me
taxes.
improve my Spanish pronunciation and accent, which in part
talking
boosts
about
my
taxes.
Babel subscription. But it's only for you beautiful bastards if you go to
People don't want them-
BAB.
yeah, I think,
Same
like,
new report from the Houston
it's-
Chronicle. Officers
well,
working
some
for
people will tell you a lot of it is just cultural, like arguments going back historically is we don't want this type of culture here because we need people to assimilate. You need Americans to act a certain way. We don't want to change the nature of America with the way people behave or whatnot. So that is also another argument.
I think that's true
Taxes.
to some extent. To some extent.
Okay, I posted the video in Chill Shit Chat. I'm going to go to the potty and probably fix me some ice cream, and then we can start.
Go for it. Well, you can
Okay,
get
so-
a passport, right? Instead of a green card, you could get a passport as well.
That'd probably just be a temporary visit though. That's like I'm
it's-
touring through America. You can't stay. You can't just stay here with
Okay.
a passport.
Yeah, I don't know anything about policy.
Yeah, Pluck is much bigger on immigration than I am, as far as knowing all the details about it. I think the tax argument. Usually, what I've heard is, or what I believe is that it's a net wash, because that's what I've heard and seen. I've also heard conservatives say that they drain our taxes, but they're also when immigrants come, they do end up working. They come and they work. They cannot apply for any sort of benefits program until they're here for at least 5 years. So none of our tax dollars are going to them. They can't get Medicaid. They can't get food stamps or whatnot for 5 years.
That's the hard thing, though, is they could work, right? But if they don't, there's no way to hold them accountable.
Accountable for what?
Not I don't know, not doing taxes. I don't know. I have no clue.
So like,
Genuinely, I have no clue how you argue against illegal immigration. I also have no idea how to argue for it.
Well, I don't think there shouldn't be illegal immigrants. Because what happens when there are illegal immigrants is, one, you don't have track of the people coming into your country. There's a potential, a risk there, a danger. You might be having cartel members come, smuggle people, traffic drugs, and whatnot. Which I'm cool with drugs, but it's still like there's an unknown, and it's a national security risk, I would say. So you don't want people coming in illegally for that. You also don't want people coming in illegally for their own sake, because they oftentimes they get taken advantage of, where they have to pay some smuggler to get them in. Then the smuggler shows them a guy who's got an orange orchard in Georgia, and that guy provides them with housing, but charges them for the housing, but then gives them a job to work in the orchard, but the job doesn't make enough to pay for their living expenses. So these people just become forever in debt to the guy who's providing them the job. So they're kind of like modern day, I don't want to say slaves, but there's this like serfdom going on. And then in the meantime, they can get busted. They can't really, oftentimes they'll just go to, when it becomes a drain on society, if they get injured, they go strictly to the emergency room, but they can't pay for it, and because the emergency room has to treat people, but then they also can't get benefits. Arguments for immigration, though, would be that they come in, they work. You need you need people to work to have a functioning.
Immigration or illegal immigration?
I don't think anybody argues for illegal immigration. I don't think
anyone argues against what's it called? I don't think anyone argues against immigration non-illegally, though.
People do.
I know, of course, there are gonna be extremes. Like, obviously, there's gonna be those 80-year-old men who think Trump is like the next Jesus, and he might say something like, "Oh, those damn immigrants, they're ruining our country." Of course, there are those types of people, but from all of like the mainstream conservatives, like people from the Daily Wire and other people that I watched they're not against immigration. They're about reinforcing our U.S.-Mexican border to stop the surge in illegal.
Have you ever heard anyone rail against a concept called open borders?
Advocate for it or go against it?
Rail against it.
Rail against it?
Like Ben Shapiro.
Open borders?
Yeah. Have you ever heard anyone saying like, "Oh, Joe Biden's open borders policy is bad for America," or whatever? They
didn't say his open borders policy, but they're saying that we're almost like an open borders. What's it called? We're almost They're saying our border is open. I haven't really heard them talking about anything that Joe Biden has passed, really. It might, but that's probably just because I don't listen too much to them. I mean, they could have said something like that. In general, I don't find this topic like fun.
You don't find immigration fun?
Offensive or anything, but like, I don't really listen. Sorry, what was
that? What part of California are you in? Or if you don't mind, like northern.
Yeah, near Los Angeles.
Oh, okay. I would. That's like. There's a lot of immigrants over there, a large Hispanic community.
Oh my gosh, dude, 100%. I mean, my school is mostly or my old school, I should say, they're mostly full of Chinese immigrants, and the school I go to now is mostly full of like Hispanic immigrants. Like we have a huge like immigrant population here, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that's fine.
Because you're around it and you don't see like the harm in it, but there's other people that don't grow up like that, and they do see a harm with having.
Well, I don't
being. I don't know if you're white or Hispanic or what, but people like that that are white don't want to be the only white person in the room. But what Cluck was getting at about have you heard people rail against open borders? I don't know exactly what that was.
I've heard
where that was headed.
Hey, Klappa.
Yeah.
Well, if you ask any like conservative, hey, should we open up the immigration policy to where we can allow 200,000 more immigrants in per year? They're gonna say no. I don't know many conservatives that would actually say yes, we should do that.
Well, I think what they're against is the 200,000. I'm assuming by when you say 200,000, is that referring to how many illegal immigrants enter each year?
No, no, we opened up our legal immigration process to allowing 200,000 more a year for any reason
many-
to come in. They
How
come.
many come in legally per year now?
I don't know. It probably
Well,
varies based off of asylum. How many asylums people would get?
immigrants.
1.5 million people. This is quick Google. 1.5 people immigrated to the U.S. in 2021. That's the Department of Homeland Security. So 1.5 million people.
Each
But
year.
wouldn't you need like net immigration
Yeah.
numbers, because we also got people who leave the U.S. too.
I'm sure if that's a common conservative take, if I listen to more conservatives talk about it, I might agree with them. But from what I know right now, which is mostly, honestly, kind of leftist talking points on like immigration, because my parents are super liberal and they'll talk about that a bit.
Based.
I don't see how allowing 200,000 people in each year would be a problem necessarily. It could be an issue if you're making it so. I want the test to be hard, right? I don't want it easy. I don't want, I don't want someone who. I want good people to come to this country. I don't want to make it so flexible to where people who don't have good intentions actually can get accepted.
Yeah, so I would want background checks. I don't think you're gonna find anybody on the left that's against like background checks for like criminal histories and such.
No, yeah, I'm totally for that. I'm
But
pretty much every
when you say good people, what if they're low skilled workers? Or is it okay to let 200,000 low skilled workers as long as they're not criminals in?
as long as they're not criminals and as long as they're, contributing something to society, you could work at 7-Eleven. Is that considered like a low tier worker in your mind?
Yeah.
Well, I said low skill, but yes.
Yeah.
I would consider anyone that contributes any type of job to be beneficial.
Wouldn't it be like more accurate would be if you increase the amount of immigrants, but you did it by the proportion of skills that we lack. So like, say we're running short on doctors, we're going to let more doctors in. We're running short on farm workers, we're going to let more farm workers in. That kind of thing. Because I'd be on board with that. I know it's not the most humanitarian
Don't we already do that?
outlook.
I don't really think doctors or actually, never mind.
I think we already do that. The work visas.
Yeah. The work, yeah. So like, but if we were to increase it, is that what they're going by? Is it usually like, hey, like we need more of this particular group, more engineers?
That's not going to solve the illegal immigration problem, because people coming in here illegally aren't doctors and they're not neuroscientists and such.
Yeah. So but okay, say like we're maxed out on the low skill jobs or the mechanic jobs, whatever the illegal immigrants are good at.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever we find that's.
I don't think that's gonna happen, because allowing more people in, you're gonna need more of those jobs. It's just like it's a relationship that it's a relationship that both benefit from each other. I think I don't really think it's gonna come to a point where you allow so many people in that are these low skilled jobs, because there are hundreds of things that you could consider like low tier jobs. There are hundreds of them and they're constantly like in need of more people. I don't know if that will happen, honestly, but again, I'm not too educated on the subject, so I can't really say.
But go ahead with your hypothetical.
Yeah, would you like? I don't know. For me, if we couldn't, if there was no jobs for these people, like other than seeking legitimate asylum, I would say, yeah, you could stop them at the border and keep them where they are, because like we just simply can't take them on. I don't think that's the case right now, but if it could be the case, would you be? How hard would you be willing to get on the border?
Um, if we were out of low skill work for these people,
Or any whatever the hell their job they're good at. What if they're all fucking dentists?
yeah. So I guess my policy would be I would allow people to come in until we get to a point to where we are hurting
Too much
our
demand, not enough supply.
well until we get to a point where we are hurting our own people so much that it becomes it becomes like a problem for our people, because if it becomes a problem before for our people, then other issues start coming up. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I guess what problems are you saying? Like, they're a net drain on our tax dollars? Are they
Well, it would have to be like
changing?
it would have to be like huge net drains, because like our tax dollar, like a net drain on our tax dollars, that's kind of
Yeah,
but that's like if they're a net drain, it's probably not going to affect you and I very much.
no,
Um,
yeah.
But yeah, they would have to be like a gigantic net drain, or they are like taking over all the jobs, or maybe it turns out that there's a large proportion of them who get by, but they end up being criminals or whatever. Um, so stuff like that, maybe I would consider it.
So all the things that the right exaggerates,
Yeah,
you just don't think is happening.
yeah.
Is kind of where you're. So you would be a right winger if it were true, if they were right, if they were true, if they
Yeah.
told the truth about this subject.
Do you guys believe that there's well, I guess like you were saying earlier, do you guys believe that there's a border crisis right now?
I mean, yeah, but I think it's a crisis of our own making.
Okay, so what should we do about that though? And what do you mean by like our own making?
We need to start letting people in legally. Create systems that are going to allow us to quickly and effectively run background checks and get people into America legally, so that they don't have to keep crossing our borders illegally.
Okay,
And
so what
and,
the
and
people
in
that
the interim, you have more judges to hear their cases. Because right now, what's happening is they let people in if they're seeking asylum, and they're backed up on cases. So it's like, hey, do you have a place to go? Yeah, I've got a cousin up in, Nebraska. So the guy goes over to Nebraska. Then they have a case, and most people show back up for that case. I think it's around 90%.
Yeah.
Or larger, show back up for the case. If they don't show back up, we just got a person that's kind of missing in the country. But you could process these people at the border quicker in the meantime, while you're working on this grand immigration policy that's going to have to happen at the federal level.
So would you guys turn back the illegal immigrants that are at our border right now if like we found them, if you know what I mean, right? Would you turn them back?
No, because legally they can seek asylum, and that's what most of them do. Is they just sneak in, seek asylum. This is like a Bush era policy, where they, if they're fleeing some credible threat from their homeland, we allow them in, and we allow them refuge, and that's kind of what they do. So, like by our own laws, we're supposed to let them in, and that's why so many of them are accepted. You'll have right wingers or like right wing media show them like, oh, they're all, look at Border Patrol's just letting them come in. It's like, well, yeah, they're inside our country and they're telling us that they're fleeing some threat in their own. And according to our laws, which police officers or law enforcement is just going by and enforcing, that's what they have to do.
Are they
It's not like we're just
if they seek asylum?
Yes, yeah, that's what I was talking about with the court cases. Is they take down these people's information, they give them a court date, and the people come back. But we're backed up on. But there's not enough judges to hear these cases. There's not enough process workers to validate these people's claims. There's not enough lawyers to defend them or make the case for them. So you kind of need to amp up that portion before we do kind of the grander thing of just accepting more people in, like Gluck is talking about.
And this is kind of pointless to argue about, I think, because from what I've heard, I agree with you guys. But I mean, the only thing I've heard from is kind of liberals, and I haven't really done any research on my own. So, I might find out later that I disagree with myself now. But I mean, right now, I kind of just agree with all of the things that you guys are saying.
I guess the one other thing I would talk about, or like that, what I would bring up that you're gonna hear is the cultural shift that seems to be about.
I mean,
in my personal life?
again, I don't think that's. I don't think that's happening. A cultural shift. I think cultures tend to stay to themselves. Like LA used to be a part of Mexico, and it still kind of is. It's like it has very Mexican traditions, right? The place where I live is like super Mexican in culture, kind of. And obviously it has been more like, I guess, whitewashed, is that what it's called? But I don't think that there are enough people coming into the country where it'll cause a significant change in our culture. And I think people that do come to other countries, I think instead of, like, staying with their own, they tend to, like, change into the other country's culture. Like, when I talk about the Hispanic kids in my school and the Chinese kids in my school, yeah, they still go out with like their grandmas and grandpas, and they do like these holidays that are like specific to their culture, but they are still at least I think like much more culturally American than they are Chinese or Hispanic.
Yeah, I think then once you get 2-3 generations in, like you might as well just consider these people American. But I think I think it also has to do with political power, where conservatives think like their political power lies within white males above the age of 45, I think it is, and then like evangelical Christians. And if you start bringing in more Hispanic people, even though like the split is, as far as voting for Democrats, I think it's like not an exact 50-50, but it might be like 55-50.
More towards Republicans recently, no?
It depends on the state. So like Nevada has had a lot more, like its Hispanic influx has been going Democrat. So like it's more of a solid blue state now. But for the Cubans in Florida are going, because they're playing a communist country, and that's kind of where their history lies, is they go for Republicans. But yeah, there is, and then there's more people, more Hispanics identifying as white. Like, even though they're Hispanic, they identify themselves as white. And so, like, that's where you get, like, that Hispanic neo-Nazi guy.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's really making that big of a shift. I think it could be, but like especially China or the Chinese, right? They're a big like majority, or they're a pretty substantial amount of our immigrants in America, and they tend to vote like very Republican.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean I stink so much on this subject, so it's kind of hard to like, I guess, defend conservatives here, but I mean, I think Hispanics are kind of down the line. I think they do tend to vote more Democratic, but I don't know if it would be a big enough shift. But again, I really don't know.
The funny thing is that Hispanics are socially conservative most of the time.
Yeah.
And they vote Democrats because Republicans are so kind of like hateful towards them.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't know because I often hear the fear of like, by the year 2040, white people will be the minority, right?
Yeah.
Here's the thing is, I don't think Republicans, the majority of them, are against, Hispanics. The problem is a large majority of Republicans are like old grandparents who very much are still in the mindset of, races being different in terms of like how, or like they're racist, all right? They're racist. But I mean, again, most
intelligent somebody is.
Yeah, like I don't know,
Mhm.
they'll just like they'll say things that aren't true about different races simply because they look different, right? But again, like I was saying, I've never heard a mainstream conservative say any of that, and I do watch them kind of regularly, but I've never heard anyone say that. I think the closest thing you'll get to is honestly, I don't know, because I don't really listen to any like far right people. I think I listen to pretty normal Republicans, I guess. But yeah, I've never heard that before. Like they're concerned about whites being overrun. I don't think that's true. I've never heard
Look up the
anyone
Great
say that.
Replacement Theory.
The Great Replacement Theory?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Alright, the Great Replacement Theory.
Guys, I won my Pokemon match. Oh, Experiment's gone.
It says it's tied to the Buffalo shooting suspect. The first. Oh, it's NPR.
Wait, why'd you
Okay.
say it like that?
Huh?
Why'd you say it like that? You're like, oh, it's
I just
NPR.
noticed. I just noticed.
Okay.
Also, they're propaganda machines.
Are they?
So, no, I don't. No, I think they do tend to lean a bit left, though, right? At
Probably.
least a little bit, yeah. I know my mom listens to them sometimes.
Oh, NPR.
Yeah, NPR.
Yeah, they definitely share things from like a liberal perspective, and they also do stuff from like the I'm doing quotation marks, the establishment perspective as well. Like I know in 2016 they were saying some shit about Bernie that pissed me off, and I was like, fuck you, NPR.
Do you like Bernie?
Oh yeah.
Bernie, man. I don't know. I don't really pay attention to presidents. I
He's got a-
know people don't like any of them, really.
He's got a
They're haters
poster
and
of Bernie
lovers.
Sanders hanging up.
I have heard the right took a lot of shit about Bernie, though, so I might have to do some investigation and, talk to you about him sometime.
By all means, but his time is up. We're gonna have to find somebody new.
Oh, no.
Like Cornell West, at least right now, or Marianne Williamson. You could talk to me about them. They're the ones in the race right now that probably more aligned with my way of thinking. But when push comes to shove, I'm probably just voting for Biden.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know anything about presidents. I know next year we're gonna have, I think the three major people that people are gonna be focusing on is like Biden, Trump, and DeSantis, right? Because DeSantis said he'd run.
He's running.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big shit show when it's a presidential race. Like all next year will be pretty insane. But Cluck, do you want to make a prediction of when DeSantis is dropping out?
I do not know. What the fuck? This thing has Thunderbolt? Okay, I'm
looked
done
up
with everything.
Great Replacement Theory, and I've heard it, and it's, correct me if I'm wrong, it's the theory that we're letting in more immigrants to shift the political vote, right? Or to eliminate, like, the white race, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so I saw one quote from Tucker Carlson, right? Which I don't really know much about. I know, you guys tend to not like him very much. I know conservatives tend to like him a lot. But there was a quote from him saying how, let me pull it up actually. I'll read it directly just so I'm not saying anything that's BS.
I'm gonna have to go on YouTube and find what you're looking at, Cluck, so I can guide you through this battle. This
I
Pokemon yours.
put together a very shoddy team, to be honest.
I mean, Okay, I looked into it. Okay, I don't. Well, you guys acknowledge that there's like a border crisis right now, right?
Like in the fact that we have a bunch of illegal people coming over into our
And the effect
borders?
that we just have a lot of people up at the border trying to come in, like
Yeah.
lines of people. Okay.
Yeah.
What I've heard from conservatives is like Biden isn't even acknowledging that. So I think that's kind of what it stems from. It's just like I've seen interviews, right, where Biden will talk about how great our border is doing, right? No one's getting through. It's going all wishy-washy. There isn't an increase at all. That's not true, right? So I think that's kind of where that theory stems from, is that it's him not caring. It's either him trying to do something that's, what's it called? That is like evil in nature, or it's just him being an old fart and not knowing what he's doing, which I think can apply to a lot of presidents, honestly.
I mean, that's the thing. You have to take the actions though in place of the words, because I mean they just ended some of the COVID era policies from the Trump administration at the border, where they were keeping people in Mexico because it was under the guise of it's unsafe because we're in the middle of a pandemic, and that just ended. And Biden's been president for 2 years, so it wasn't like day one he lifted it. And was a flood of immigrants come in. It's like they were still being pretty tough processing the border. The money's still going there. I think they increased funding for it in the first first couple bills. So like when it comes to the way they're governing, I don't see much of a huge difference, other than like not wanting to build a wall because that's Donald Trump's thing, and we can't continue. We don't want to give him what he wants. And the wall is just kind of bad as far as a symbol goes, and as far as like ecologically, the wall fucking sucks.
Yeah, I honestly don't know anything about immigration in general. I'd have to definitely do more research.
But yeah, if you don't just take like what he's saying. That thing has magic bounce. You're gonna fuck yourself.
Oh no! He thunderwaved me and I quit. I rage quit.
Oh, he thunderwaved you. Okay, I thought you thunderwaved him, and we're gonna get magic bounced.
No.
But what was I saying? Oh yeah, just go by like the policy, the way things are actually run, rather than just what people are saying around what's going on, because you'll get really confused with it real quick.
I tend to, at least I think so. This guy in chat said, "How the fuck do you talk about gender on a Pokemon stream?" Hey, Click. Okay, before I get to this, you need to like change your titles to like debate, because I bet when you hover over it, it looks like you're just playing Pokemon, and then you join, and there's like a gender debate going on. And I think that'd be a huge surprise for anyone watching.
I like the I like keeping people on their toes.
Oh, okay, gotcha. It's a choice. Gotcha.
What chat are you talking about?
The kick stream, the kick one.
Oh, I don't know what that. But Steve said, I want to reduce legal immigration and completely eliminate illegal immigration. So how we're saying we want to increase, basically make all the illegal immigrants legal. Steve wants to decrease legal immigration. I don't know. I'd have to look at numbers, but
like the ones that qualify, right?
Ones that would yeah, but we would like lax the laws for what qualifies, where it's not just a lottery, where yeah, so you would be letting a lot more people in.
Steve would?
I would. We would.
Oh, you would. Okay, I was gonna say Steve then.
Steve is, because Ford said he hadn't heard many people say they want to reduce legal immigration. I'm saying Steve wants to reduce legal immigration.
Okay. I'm gonna be going to bed soon.
Okay.
Any
last minute things you want to talk about?
What is the best flavor of ice cream, and why is it cookies and cream?
the best flavor of ice cream and why is it cookies and cream?
Yes.
The best flavor of ice cream is cookies and cream, and that's just because it's the GOAT. It's undeniably the best. If you say otherwise, you're lying to
I
yourself.
don't understand how it's so good. It just doesn't make
It
sense
is
to me.
good.
Is that the one with Oreos in it?
Yes.
Is it,
Yeah.
like- and then are there like chunks of like chocolate chip cookies?
You could get ones with chocolate chip cookies. That's the cookie. That's the
I
Oreo
just
and
get the ones with
Chips
Oreo.
Ahoy combo.
Nah, I'm gonna go Rocky Road. Rocky Road's
Really?
the goat.
The
Like,
hell?
just
You picked an ice
steak.
cream.
Disgusting.
You picked an ice cream with nuts in it. All right, I'm banning you.
I fucking love almonds, dude. I'm
Damn.
allergic.
This
and
is why
can't
you're
eat
a
'em.
far left liberal experiment and why we can't have an honest discussion because you like Rocky Road.
To be
I
honest,
know
I
it's warped my brain.
can't
Yeah.
believe it. Can't believe it. All right, y'all have a good night. Thanks for coming out. Y'all are more than welcome to stay and chat. I'm gonna go to
I'll
bed.
probably go. I have to eat. I'm hungry.
All right, later.
All right, I'll catch you guys. Bye.
See ya, everyone. Bye bye.
All right. Thank you for anyone that came. Oh, somebody just came in. Ha. Thank you for anyone that came in. Thank you for anyone who chatted in my chat. Y'all have a good night and bye.